Good morning, America. Happy Friday, April 11th, 2025. Those April showers, they bring May flowers, but President Trump has an annual physical today. So he's been reported, according to Congressman Ronnie Jackson, who used to be in the role as his main physician during the first term, also the physician for former President Barack Obama. Ronnie Jackson has said that he is the healthiest president really on the books in the modern times. So we will check on that for President Trump, and perhaps he'll take some questions from the press outside of the Walter Reed Medical Center today. We are also awaiting White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt for a press briefing. I'm Robert McNeely. It's always a joy to be with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Of course, I'm wearing more green this week because it's Masters Week, and what a competition that was yesterday, with some familiar faces at the top of that leaderboard. Of course, Wednesday, I always enjoy immensely with the par 3 competition. We saw Poppy McIlroy, of course, the lovely young daughter of Rory McIlroy, tapping in what looks to be just a quick putt, maybe a couple of feet away. It turns into 20 plus feet. She drained it, and those are the greens at Augusta. They're fast, just like this administration, moving at a breakneck pace in order to make America great again in day 81. And President Trump really having a full schedule this week, if we look back at it, from meeting with racing champions and then addressing reciprocal tariffs. It's been this trade battle taking place mainly with China. Of course, the markets going up and down in the process. But as he said on Truth Social, let's cool down. Let's make sure we see this through. And he has now put a 90-day wait on other tariffs with multiple other countries. He met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office, and Bibi mentioning that all of these trade barriers were very unfair between the United States and Israel. In fact, the tariffs that Israel had on the United States, so he was getting rid of those immediately in order to have more fair trade practices. 70-plus nations came to the table asking President Trump for help in this matter, because when President Trump put that baseline last week of 10% and then matched, or pending upon what trade agreements were taking place, slapped tariffs on these different nations, they all wanted to come to the table. In fact, the UK, Great Britain itself, the Prime Minister, Mr. Starmer, wanted to address it immediately, and President Trump's cabinet meeting with him just yesterday, mentioning that they actually can't get back to all of the calls. This is mostly Mr. Lutnick's job at Commerce, because they're just being flooded with calls from so many foreign nationals asking for new agreements to meet with President Trump. So these are working. Stick with the program, stick with the game plan. As he said back in 2016, it's about time we have someone running this country who knows a thing or two about money. Speaking about money, speaking about retirement and those big things that you might have to spend on, Colonial Metals Group, what a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Heed the warning of Warren Buffett, the billionaire among others, who have put so much of their hard-earned wealth into the stock markets, gold and silver. We know from 1971, when the Nixon administration went off of the gold standard, gold has skyrocketed over 7,000%. So scan that QR code now. Shield your savings today with freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Yes, freegoldguide.com/RSBN. No obligation, just helps you to find a way to make your best bets against inflation. Let me tell you how you do that. It's gold and silver. Whether you have properties, assets, you can have a 401k or even an IRA. Those can be rolled into gold and silver as well if you so choose. But regardless of the best option, you need gold and silver in your portfolio. So this no obligation guide, endorsed by patriots like Judge Jeanine Pirro, are just absolutely fantastic. And you may have seen some of our interviews with the great Paul Stone, the CEO of this wonderful organization. China is creating trade wars with many people, including the United States, but also their war games around the free island of Taiwan, trying to intimidate a free people. Who our trade agreements work very well. The chips that go into your little computers here, your iPhones, lots of them coming from Taiwanese technology. And these are good people. They want to be free. So this has an effect not only on your wallet, but international security. So think about these things as you protect yourself with gold and silver. The best group to do that, of course, Colonial Metals Group. Thank you to Paul Stone and his team for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And we have a great video in case you missed it. President Trump meeting with race superstars, champions in Formula One, NASCAR, coming to the White House this week. And then again, he is impromptu. The press waiting for him, and they had questions for him. We'll toss it over to that video on what was a very sunny day on the South Portico on Wednesday.
Very special day for a lot of reasons, actually, if you really think about it. But this is a day because Roger Penske's a great friend of mine. I've known him a long time. He received a few years ago the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest award in the country outside of the Congressional Medal of Honor. It's sort of the civilian version of the Congressional Medal of Honor. And I watched him win his 18th Indianapolis 500. And now I just said, "Did you win 19? He said, "Well, actually, we won 20. He won 2 more since then. So that was like 5 years ago, and he won 2 more since then. And just well-deserving. If you look, Germany, Japan, the countries, they spend billions of dollars trying to win Indy. And I guess they do it sometimes, but not much. But he's done it 20 times, so he must know something about cars and racing, and trucks, too, by the way. He knows a lot about trucks. But he's been a very special guy, and he's brought some of our outstanding racing champions with tremendous courage and guts and grit. Hello, fellas. I didn't see you guys over there. That's a good-looking couple of teams, too. They have a lot of courage. And we'll see you in a second. So we're joined by the 2023-2024 NASCAR champion, Ryan Blaney, and Joey Logano. That's really fantastic, fellas. That's great. You get that car going, like as an example, on average, how fast would you?
About 190.
About 190, you can have it. I don't want to go, but 190, that's fantastic. And on a straightaway, you'll go how much?
About 190, 200.
About 190 to 200. Well, it takes a special genetic, you know that, right? It's genes. Not only it's genes, really. Most people couldn't do that. Very few people could do it. The 2023 and 2024 Indianapolis 500 winner, Joseph Newgarden. Hey, Joseph. And the 2025 champions of the 24 Hours of Daytona, Felipe Nasser, Nick Tandy, and Lawrence Ventura. Thank you, guys. This is just a celebration of racing, and it's a celebration of Roger and his great success and his life, and these incredible champions who really do what very few people could do. Mentally, psychologically, it's a big factor here, like it is in all sports, really, but you need a great physical ability. People that do this, they don't realize what great athletes they are. It's just not the car. I had a friend, he's a very successful guy, but he was a driver. And started off, he wanted to be a race car driver. He wanted to be like you. He wanted to be just like Joey Logano. and he had it for business, but he didn't have it for he said, I just couldn't compete with the good drivers. He couldn't do it, no matter what he did. And he got lucky. He went into business and made a lot of money. He was very successful. But he said, I couldn't press the accelerator down all the way, and the best drivers could. So there was just a difference. It was really, I never forgot that story. But these are great champions, and it's a great sport. And what you've done in Indianapolis also with the track and everything has been incredible. I mean, it's really incredible. People tell me it's been amazing. I'll have to get there. I'm going to have to get there maybe this year with you. But
Open invitation.
well, thank you very much. Thank you. We did Daytona. We went around the track in the Beast, what's called the Beast, with the thick windows and the whole thing. And you're not supposed to hear anything, but I heard the fans. They were going crazy outside. So it was a great honor. So I just wanted to welcome them to the White House, a special place, very, very special place. And we love champions, and these are the greatest champions in the world. These are the greatest champions in racing, and it's an honor to have you all. And thank you very much, all of you. Thank you very much. I wouldn't ride in that thing if you paid. How fast will that go?
240 plus.
240.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
Weapon.
Two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500 consecutively, right?
Yes, sir.
So what the hell are you doing? What do you eat?
A lot of milk. Drinking a lot of milk. Hopefully,
Okay, I'm going to take some. And that one is pure speed and endurance, right?
Correct, sir.
Speed and endurance. Is that car a very different car than, let's say, this one? Very different?
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Made for...
You gotta last so many hours,
Right.
and we all share the car, so three drivers,
Totally different engine.
different engines,
Everything's different.
everything.
And you'll go, is it 24 hours?
Yeah.
That's a long time. And that car just, there's no let up, it's just constant, right? That's fantastic. Congratulations. That's endurance. Endurance is a big factor in life and success, I can tell you. So you guys have it. Well, thank you very much.
And isn't it great how President Trump can really make the art of the deal happen in real time? It's like reading his books as you watch every press conference. So he's going in and out, bobbing and weaving these important issues over the tariffs, over the economy, but also acknowledging and thanking those great race car drivers. He also welcomed North Dakota State, their football team, champions of the Division I AA. That's what it used to be called. It's the FCS, of course, FBS being the main event that you see with now similar to a March Madness, more of a fall madness now with the 12 teams. Maybe that will expand in the fall later on down the road. But President Trump, of course, a huge fan of culture, a huge fan of sports as well. As you can see that side split screen there, just welcoming North Dakota State this week, a great football team in their own right. It's funny, too, I met with some college students earlier this week. Actually, they're starting up a new Young Republicans chapter in the area. And one had mentioned, hey, I played Division III, so, I'm not so great. I'm like, that's fantastic. I did not get there myself. So something to be proud of, regardless of where you're going to school and, of course, the community you represent. Coach Bruce Pearl, perhaps the best when it comes to showcasing his team in the Final Four this past week. Of course, Auburn, our team here in the friendliest village on the plains, somewhat sad about what took place, but what an achievement to get to the Final Four. So once again, congratulations to you. Call God. That's what it's all about as we look towards Passion Sunday, going into, of course, the week of Easter as we reflect and celebrate this time of revival, renewal, and growth, not only at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, but in our personal lives. This president committed to reshaping an economy and also saving Western civilization, along with Doge, Elon Musk, the amazing work he's been doing at the White House. He's a temporary government employee, so roughly he has 130 days total to be there. We'll see if there's an extension on that, but we're likely winding down to the last few days of specifically Elon being around, the president being with him every single day. So just to put that on the horizon for you, as we're 81 days into this administration, 130 days total for any special government employee. But Doge will continue to remain in action. And after we do this sponsor, I'll showcase some of what's happened with Doge this week and the things they have found. But thank you to angelpaste.com, the miracle that is the cream of all creams. This will take your dry skin and make it glowing, make it relaxed. There's nothing more embarrassing if you're on a date or if you're shaking hands for that business deal and you get that crackled, nasty, maybe bloody skin because of the dry hands or eczema. Well, Miracle Cream has solved that problem for you. Christian-based company out of Spring, Texas in the Lone Star State, and that's right off the Gulf of America. They have several fantastic options for you, whether it's the Orange Immunity or the natural mosquito repellent. They also have a facial spray for guys. So guys, it's for you as well. For guys, for gals, whoever needs it. What's great about this product? No chemicals, non-GMO, filled with vitamin Bs, vitamin Cs, things that are good for you to keep you healthy and strong. So experience the miracle today. AngelPace.com. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And you might have caught President Trump meeting with his outstanding cabinet just yesterday, and they highlighted so many different things going on in the administration. President Trump also signing HJ Resolution 25 into law. It disapproves the rule submitted by the Internal Revenue Service relating to gross proceeds reporting by brokers that regularly provide services effectuating digital asset sales. And this is crucial as well, because one reporter was asking Karoline Leavitt in the press conference just a couple of days ago about these tariffs and how it relates to, of course, the IRS, of course, the income tax. That's been President Trump's argument from 1870 until 1913, when that income tax came into place. We had big tariffs. We were the richest we've ever been as a nation. President McKinley and President Roosevelt saw to it that these tariffs made America the wealthiest nation in the world and really set us up to be a superpower as a result. But then those far left globalist progressives, really a cancer on this country over the course of the last 100 or so years, started to implement their savage behavior legislatively, in the executive, and I can literally count on my hand the deep state globalist presidents of the modern times versus those who really believed in the Constitution, who believed in the rule of law, who believed in life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. Think about this as a nation. From 1776 until 1913, we had no federal income tax. That's crazy to think about, that we were able to survive, build railroads, push from east to west, have the Louisiana Purchase in that amount of time, and to be this bi-coastal superpower. But of course, the far left had other plans. But now, thank God, President Trump in office, a constitutional warrior, wanting to bring back common sense. That's where it all falls, because this moderate populist, as he is, really is on the right side of history, is on the conservative side of history as a result of common sense principles and getting the government off of your back. He's a lot like JFK was. He's a lot like President Reagan. These great warriors who said no to the deep state, no to globalism, and decided to fight for you, the American people, regardless of having an R or a D next to their name, because it's we the people versus a bloated bureaucracy committed to their own gain of wealth, their own search for power. And it's amazing to me, because Nancy Pelosi back in 1996, literally arguing the same points from the House floor as President Trump is today when it comes to those tariffs, saying that it's not fair trade, it's not reciprocal. We need to take on and negotiate with these other nations. This is during the Clinton administration. Even crazy Bernie Sanders once agreed with tariffs. And of course, Barack Hussein Obama ran on tariffs. He ran as a moderate. We then found that he was just as much of a neocon as George W. Bush. Oh my goodness, the living predecessors of Donald Trump really failed this nation, bringing us to $36 trillion in debt. But as Karoline Leavitt laid out just the other day, along with the tariffs, then comes massive tax cuts, bringing those corporate tax rates from 21% down to 15%. We pay more in taxes than the Chinese Communist Party across the board, or at least the residents of that once great nation, until communism befell a beautiful culture. So we were born for such a time as this. President Trump, ready, willing, and able, believing that God has assigned him on this mission, spared his life back on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania. To think about that, he's taken a bullet for this country, gone through fake impeachments, gone through all of the lawfare that we detailed yesterday with former Congressman Rod Bloom of Iowa. These random judges that can just usurp the authority of the executive office of the President of the United States. Well, you keep pushing back, you keep fighting, as President Trump called on patriots to do, peacefully and patriotically, of course, with the blood right across his cheek. Perhaps you really truly know how brave someone is when they go through hell and back. And President Trump, his family, very much doing that over the course of the last decade. So we are so excited to be here with you on the right side of history awaiting White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt for a White House briefing. And this will probably precede her wonderful MAGA Minute that happens every single week. So in case you have a busy week, in case you're focused on that great legendary tournament in Augusta, Georgia, known as the Masters, you can always rewind and rescrub back to that MAGA Minute, whether it's on Instagram or X or your favorite social media platform. And of course with ours as well, since we're streaming on social media, feel free to scrub back on our different episodes and catch every pulsating minute of the greatness of this administration, whether it is in Washington, D.C., in the Beltway, or of course, outside of the Beltway. And if you have an America First story for us or any suggestions, we'd love to read your feedback. So reach out to us at feedback@rsbn.tv. Yes, it is feedback@rsbn.tv. Love having you on and love discussing really what has made America great again. And that's the one thing I probably am missing right now. Although this is wonderful to be with you live from Auburn, Alabama, covering our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., of course. Just those people we got to talk to at the rally. I even have a video from the very last rally I did, the first of 4, on November 4th, the day before the election, in Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, just saying goodbye and thank you to you, the American people, who sent a mandate peacefully and patriotically to this government, sent a message around the world reclaiming your seat at the center of American government, and that was putting back the 45th Commander-in-Chief into office as the 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump of Florida, once from Queens, New York, the Queens boy with the vision who wanted to build skyscrapers in Manhattan and around the world, including that great second city of Chicago. It might be called the second city, but it's first in our hearts, at least in mine. So we are having a fun Friday here. Thank you for joining us. I'm Robert McNeely. You're watching Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. It's 11:22. The top of the hour, we are going to see Karoline Leavitt with a press secretary. So a press briefing for the press secretary, someone who's batting 1,000, perhaps with a better on-base percentage than those world champion Los Angeles Dodgers who visited the White House earlier this week as well. If you have any bets or trades on important things going on in this country, whether it be with our politics, whether it be with sports, with culture, whatever it might be, the question now, when will Bitcoin hit that 150,000 mark? I'm thinking it's pretty soon, perhaps before October, but you have 3 options there: before the next year, before October of this year itself, and before July. So go and make your bets, make your trades at kalshi.com/RSBN. This is the favorite new trading site that's out there. Kalshi.com/RSBN. That is KALSHI.com/RSBN. So scan that QR code now and get on to it. This is a great way to trade and to bet and to have some fun with things. I'm sure they'll have lots of Masters coverage as well. And certain things, too, about even egg prices. They'll ask you that kind of question. Or will this piece of legislation come through? And then you could win some good earnings there, especially dealing in the Bitcoin. So kalshi.com/RSBN. Check them out today. Thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. And there is a live look there of the White House. A little bit of a rainy day, but that emerald green, just outstanding, and a great preview into the weekend of the greenest of greens in Augusta, Georgia with the Masters tournament. That's why I'm wearing my green today. They actually say work productivity goes down 97.5% during the Masters. So, you know, sorry about that. That might be attributing to this economy just temporarily, but it's an exciting time for all those who like to celebrate this great competition. I had the wonderful honor of interviewing a cultural patriot, a country music superstar, someone who is fighting for not only freedom of speech, but freedom of religion, not freedom from religion, like the far left likes to accuse Thomas Jefferson and other founding fathers of somehow not being religious, of somehow not being Christian believers. Of course, we know many of those founders had different denominations or different backgrounds, but nonetheless, they believe that this Judeo-Christian foundation of America must be adhered to, or at least respected, in order to have a constitutional republic of people equal under the law. It's essential. and it was the reason why the Bill of Rights came to be. So Lee Greenwood, the country music superstar, was gracious enough to stop live here at RSBN just the other day. We'll play back this very fun interview and talk to him about what he's working on with sending Bibles not only in Oklahoma, but throughout every classroom in America. We'll toss it live there now. And we are in for a real treat today at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live with country legend Lee Greenwood, who just received the Horatio Alger Award in Washington, D.C. Sir, please share with us what that award is all about and how it relates to your wonderful and astounding career.
Thank you very much for asking. Horatio Alger is a wonderful society, and I've known about it for a long time. Established first in 1947 to give scholarships to the very underprivileged, not just underprivileged, challenged. For someone who's had a very difficult life and have no chance at college or higher education, this is a place where we can uplift those young kids, those scholars we call them, and give them a chance at a higher learning, whether or not it's college or not, that's their choice. And now being as an inductee and a lifetime member, I'll have my own responsibility in order to nominate, find those students who actually need uplifting and take them out of adverse conditions and bring them into reality. I've heard so many stories since I've been there, and this week has been absolutely uplifting for me as well. All the performances at DAR Hall, for the many times we put the medal on and talked about how much it means to us. And now to describe, as we move forward, what our responsibilities are with Horatio Alger is actually very moving.
You've devoted so much of your career and your life to these great things, using music to uplift the American spirit, of course, with your legendary God Bless the USA. We saw last week that President Trump committed to an executive order really to attack the bots that sometimes keep people from attending these beautiful concerts. Of course, Kid Rock was with him in the Oval Office for that. Just some of your thoughts, Mr. Greenwood, on really streamlining these costs, because it's really put Vivid Seats, Ticketmaster, some others on the back burner, and people, of course, upset when they can't see their favorite artists in person.
Well, not just concerts, but America's sport, baseball. I don't know what the last time you took your kids to a baseball game or whatever, but it gets out of sight. And I know that that's a business and they have to run it for baseball or football or ice hockey or whatever it is. But concerts are actually above and beyond that. If you go to most of the arenas that have some of the largest acts in the country, and I have to give Taylor Swift a little bit of plug on how well she's actually attacked the Ticketmaster and not let them scalp her tickets beyond what is reasonable. People are fans. They are fans of mine, and they get to come to see concerts. I just feel it's not fair to us, no fair to the public, in order to take something that is a reasonable ticket to come and see an artist, charge double and triple, because it's not going to deter the fans to come. They're just going to have to pay more, and it just is so unfair. So congratulations to the president. I thank for getting involved, and my friend, of course, Kid Rock, which I talked to last night, he had a performance here in Nashville at the Ryman. So I'm like, yeah, we're all on the same page here.
And we all love visiting Music City, whether it is for bachelor and bachelorette parties, but also a wonderful place to raise a family as well. I love, personally, Franklin, Tennessee is one of my favorites, and our thoughts and prayers with everyone with the storms in Western Tennessee, of course, Auburn, Alabama, our home studio, seeing some of that weather over the last 48 hours, but we have a lot of that happening here. Speaking of music and the creative process, of course, President Trump is the chairman of the Kennedy Center, and that recent thing took place where you were going to perform there, but then some unions got involved, and it would have cost something around $30,000, if I'm not mistaken, to move a piano. So sadly, that had to be canceled. What are some of your thoughts not only on the Kennedy Center, but having President Trump now chairing that great foundation in order to make music great again?
Yes. So I'm at the dais, just in a horseshoe, with all of the newly appointed trustees. There are 32 of us now. And the president joined us for the meeting, the new chairman. The ambassador is next to him. There's another lady there. And then the chief of staff, Susan Wise, is next to me. And I didn't quite hear it as they brought in the press. the president took an opportunity to turn to me real quickly and address me about this issue of me performing. And I knew that I had been asked, and I had the head of entertainment call me and said, I think the boss may want you to sing. I said, fine, find me a piano if I need it. And so when he said the issue about, hey, Lee, they want $30,000, I thought he said, I was charging him $30,000 to sing, which is actually ridiculous because I've never done that. I was singing for him for free forever. And but it turned out to be that the union actually wanted to have 6 people move the piano from where it was, which is about probably 40 feet, to the center of the stage and in the middle of this horseshoe, and then get some production up with a couple of mics. And I didn't need all that. But I think it was just making a point that it seemed like a little bit ridiculous that you probably could have done that for whatever the minimum the union could charge for $400 or $500 a piece. So I would have paid that just to let me sing for them. But anyway, the boss said, we'll have you do this again later. And it's not an issue, so don't worry about it.
Well, funny story there for sure. Now, Oklahoma is in focus because you are working on an initiative with the state superintendent in order to share Bibles in every classroom and in turn get the Bible back into public, private, and homeschooling institutions. Can you update us on that very noble work?
So I'll just kind of show you that this is the Bible we're talking about. It says Holy Bible, and it says God Bless USA under it because I endorse it, and the handwritten lyrics for God Bless USA are in it. But more importantly, what is in this Bible is the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and we included the Pledge of Allegiance as well. I believe every student needs to know how this country got started. And people came here not to escape faith on the Mayflower, but they came here bringing their faith with them. I consider this a Christian nation. So in doing so, and President Trump, of course, has endorsed this same Bible, and it's available on GodBlessUSA.com, by the way, to pick up your version. We even have one for Easter that's coming out with a pink version. I thought that might be kind of interesting. But the schools in Oklahoma, as well as several other states, has asked that this particular Bible be in the classrooms. I totally agree, and I congratulate the superintendent of schools in Oklahoma and Congressman Ryan for letting us do this. I'm pleased as punch.
Such a noble effort because we see President Trump actually putting the Declaration of Independence in the Oval Office. What does that mean to you, not only as a personal friend of the president, but as this true servant leader, the 47th Commander-in-Chief, so committed to those founding documents? As you said, Lee, it's not about separation of church and state, running away from religion, as the far left has tried to share that revisionist history, but rather the founders of this nation birthed this constitutional republic, claiming and glorifying that these are God's inherent rights that have been bestowed upon us as citizens of this great nation.
You know, we fought for our right to be free. The Revolutionary War was bloody. It was brother against brother. The development of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence put everybody at peril who actually brought that to bear against England and was a superpower at that time. So this republic has to move on and on. And anybody who's a constitutionalist, if I may use that word, anybody who believes in the Constitution or Declaration of Independence, that's what we have to refer to. And I would remind everyone of the Supreme Court, every time that they judge a case, use the Constitution as a basis for that. Don't use some popular opinion. Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is a patriot. I know him very well. I like him so very much. He is a warm, genuine individual that believes in people. There's a lot of things he's done for people you would never know about, who has been so benevolent and as an entrepreneur has dedicated his time and resources, not just to underprivileged and people who deserve it, but also to make this country great again. And I compliment him for this particular endeavor. Keep the Declaration of Independence in his office.
Such a privilege to speak to you, Lee Greenwood, the country music superstar, live from Nashville, Tennessee. Where can we find your latest projects and perhaps your latest music as you continue to really make a great difference, not only through your music, but through your philanthropy?
Well, thank you very much. Go to our website, leegreenwood.com. Of course, GodBlessTheUSABible.com will contain our Bible, but it'll also give the new rock version of God Bless the USA, which hit the #1 of the rock charts last month. Proud of that. and all of the things that we do for our soldiers, and that's building homes for wounded warriors. And I'll give Helping a Hero a plug is what we do. And so go to leegreenwood.com or godblessusa.com to find the Bible. Thank you.
Happy Easter to you, Mr. Lee Greenwood. Thank you so much. A true privilege to speak with you here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. Look forward to having you again in the near future. And of course, that wonderful gift for Easter. Thank you for sharing with us today.
Yeah, it's pink. Guys, get this for your wife.
Yes, it's a good gift for the ladies for sure.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Happy Easter.
Oh, a dear man. Thank you to Lee Greenwood for the opportunity to speak with just a country legend right there, and someone very humble. I've enjoyed over the course of a number of years, whether it be at Turning Point USA, Truth Social, or now at Right Side Broadcasting Network, to see Lee Greenwood sing his immortal God Bless the USA, 40 Years Young, that iconic song back from the 80s. Really something that stands the test of time, and rarely do you have that moment in a career, whether it be artistic, whether it be something in another field, where it really stands that test of time and that legacy. And Lee Greenwood really giving credit where credit is due to Scripture and to the holy Word of God. And we hope over the course of the next week, especially, you get to walk that passion road and reflect upon the ultimate sacrifice God made for us as man, fully God, fully man, Jesus Christ, true God and true man, who ripped open that veil so that we can spend eternity with him in heaven. It's a beautiful gift. And great fighters who believe in that reside right there at that beautiful White House as we await White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt for a press briefing. Just to highlight some of the Trump effect over the course of 81 days, Americans see firsthand the price relief in years. We had Otto Penn, the last president, who skyrocketed the debt, but after today's inflation report showing the first consumer price decline in years. This is a decrease in energy prices, and real average hourly wage growth is one thing. It's very clear here. President Trump's economic agenda is delivering for the American people. And here's what they're saying. If you have the Council on Economic Advisors chair, Steve Myron, has mentioned that core inflation print on annual basis was the lowest core inflation print since March of 2021. So President Trump's policies are working at keeping inflation at bay and keeping inflation down for now. Between that and what's going on with trade, America is back. Economist E.J. Antoni is stating that this is truly remarkable. Average annual inflation rates from 2009 until 2021 was 1.8%. Then Biden drove it up to 8.6% for a year and a half. Then it rose steadily at 3.1% for the rest of the Otto Penn's term. But now Trump is averaging a mere 1%. Remarkable over the course of 81 days in office. CNBC's Rick Santelli. We were expecting the exact opposite. These are definitely low numbers. Boo-hoo, because they wanted it to be bad for this president because they're not Maha, they're not MAGA, they're losers. And the proof is in the pudding. The numbers are right there for you. So Rick Santelli, I want an apology. CNN's Matt Egan. This was actually a drop of 0.1%. That's the first time we've seen that since COVID. Year over year, the annual inflation rate was 2.4%. This was also better than expected and a 6-month low in the right direction. Oh, the Clinton News Network. Ha ha. USA Today. Inflation eased more than expected to a 5-month low in March as gasoline and used car prices tumbled and rent increases softened further. Good news. Axios. Inflation was notably cooler than expected in March. The overall consumer price index dropped as much as energy prices plummeted, while the core measures that excludes food energy rose just slightly. And it goes on and on. And I continue to quote some of these great experts, some not so much as others because they were allegedly surprised, but the proof is in the pudding once again, as I'm sure White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt will lay out momentarily at the top of the hour. Thank you to Colonial Metals Group, because regardless of who's in charge or what kind of government you live under, fortunately, we're once again in constitutional times, but even with conservative populism on the forefront, great to heed the warnings of billionaires like Warren Buffett, who have put their assets into the stock market and into gold and silver. So whether it's properties, numerous assets that you might own, how about a 401k or IRA? All great things. But you can actually roll those 401ks, those IRAs, into tangible, beautiful metals such as gold and silver. So Colonial Metals Group does it best. The patriots like Judge Jeanine Pirro, among many others, endorsing Paul Stone's group at freegoldguide.com/RSBN. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Scan that QR code now. Shield your savings. It just makes sense. It's common sense if you're looking at retirement or perhaps sending a student to that great university behind me, Auburn. So get to it today. Do not delay. Scan that QR code now. Shield your savings as you look at China, the Chinese Communist Party really starting a trade war. We're going to finish it, but you need to know how to take care of those things most precious to you. Again, Colonial Metals Group, thank you for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And it looks like we will be seeing Karoline roughly in about that 20-minute mark or so, perhaps slightly before. But you usually see that hustle and bustle as the reporters come into the room. If you've been in the room, the James S. Brady briefing room, it is quite a tight area, so very small. It used to be the location of the White House swimming pool. And fun fact that actually I was reminded of by a fellow alum of the great University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, James S. Brady, God rest his soul, the gentleman who, again, took a bullet when Ronald Reagan took that bullet in 1981, happens to be a graduate of that fine university as I am. We actually lived in the same dorm, and I don't know if I've ever shared that here at the network, but of course years apart, but some legacy there. And this, of course, the best way for the American people to see their government in action. And Karoline Leavitt, his successor, does it more often than not. It's usually scheduled for once a week, but sometimes she has 2 or 3. And I'm telling you, she is probably the best who's ever held that seat. The way she handles the press, the way she's helped open it up along with this president, with whitehouse.gov/new media. And I wonder who we'll see today in that new media seat, who gets to start off with the questionings. Always good to have that, because Americans are consuming their news and information in an extraordinary way. It's not just the networks anymore. It's not just cable. It's streaming like we have here at our live desks, the Right Side Broadcasting Network, of course, but others also have their live desks. They have, of course, social media. People are seeing things on X, Instagram, wherever it may be, perhaps Truth Social. And we're streaming unlike ever before. So the more voices, the more free speech, the more fulfillment of that beautiful First Amendment. And going back to people, founders like Benjamin Franklin, the wise man that he was, remember, he had Poor Richard's Almanac, and no one knew who exactly was penning that. But of those founders, many believe that those who get their stories out there, who really move the needle on public opinion, can have a huge influence over the nation. And sadly, we've seen that advantage really in the ball court of people who are cable or networks over the years. But that has all changed over the course of the last decade with the new media, with those who have pushed back and said, hey, you're not telling stories, you're not doing the news, you're doing solely opinion. And that's okay as long as you're forthright with people saying, this is my bias, this is where I stand on this. Let's analyze this because I don't like this, or I like this, this is working. But so many times, whether it be between the hours of 9 to 5, you've had these so-called journalists who are instilling fear, instilling lies, and that was especially true in the first administration. And then everyone would scratch their head and say, this is interesting. It seems like as if they're not telling the truth. And we know with things like Crossfire Hurricane, with the Russia hoax, so many of those folks now retired peddled those conspiracy theories, those big lies, claiming that people did things in the Trump administration or even before, including the president, that were simply untrue. And as President Trump said it when he had to deal with that tiny little Hitler, Zelensky, in the Oval Office just several weeks ago, we saw that President Trump mentioned, you can think what you want about Vladimir Putin. He just wants Russia and Ukraine to come to peace so people stop dying, whether it be military or civilian. These two great civilizations sparring because they have two very bad leaders. And that's okay. You don't have to pick a side in it because ultimately President Trump just wants peace. But he said, look what Vladimir Putin, he may not be a good guy, but look at what he had to put up with the Russia hoax. You think that was something that he wasn't worried about, something that he didn't keep his eye on with crooked Hillary Clinton and the neocons and the war class that exist in the deep state? Something to think about with our foreign policy, but you, the American people, perhaps know it better than anyone else because President Trump has pulled back that curtain, has showed us the truth, has really brought us all of the good, bad, and the ugly that comes from Washington, D.C., that swamp. But thank God that constitutional principles and God-fearing people once back at that wonderful White House, a museum, a residence, and also a place of work. And we know Karoline shares deeply in that God-fearing respect of our Christian foundation in this nation. Well, so thank you to her. Thank you to a great White House staff. And thank you to President Trump, who take the slings and arrows all with a smile on their faces for the American people. And in turn, we have your back, Mr. President, as the military says, we are on your six. God bless you and thank you for the openness of the most transparent administration in American history. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. 1776 coffee. 1775 coffee, excuse me. I just have 76 on my mind because of that beautiful Declaration of Independence. Only 1,000 available, the ultimate longevity bundle. So this is kind of amazing. This is not just coffee. This is coffee with a kick. A compound that will actually lower your age in appearance, in feeling, in all of the above by 8 years in as little as 7 months. Think about this. This is valued at $250. We're giving this to you for $99 with code RSBN. 1775coffee.com/RSBN, an easy code to remember. Of course, you're watching it right now. The Right Side of History, Right Side Broadcasting Network. You also have a chance to win a Cybertruck if you sign up for this today. So it's a win-win situation. You're saving $150. You're signing up to win a Cybertruck. You're drinking coffee that has super ingredients in it. These compounds not only natural, but can lower your age in 7 months. So I picked mine up. I hope you do too. 1775coffee.com/RSBN. Again, only 1,000 available. These are going like hotcakes. So jump on it now. Do not delay. Buy your 1775 coffee today. Again, 1775coffee.com/RSBN. Thank you for joining us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. It's 11:47. 47's a great number, and we are awaiting White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt for a press briefing scheduled for high noon Eastern Daylight Time in this beautiful nation's capital at the White House, the James S. Brady Briefing Room. We know that many successes across the table this week. President Trump meeting with his cabinet, all of them highlighting some of the excellent successes that have taken place over the course of the last several days. 81 days in office thus far by my count. Most of the time, the media will look back at 100 days, but this president at the fastest pace in American history with over 400 executive actions, with some of the people who went through the lawfare themselves. I think about Tulsi Gabbard, who was targeted by crooked Hillary Clinton. She's now running the Department of National Intelligence. Great to have someone who is not bought and paid for by the war class, who believes in you, the American people, who has served in her own capacity in the military. Also Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. I'm really amazed by people really on either side of the aisle who claim that he's somehow not qualified. I mean, 3 Bronze Stars, incredible tours in Iraq, in Afghanistan, I believe as well. a gentleman scholar, someone who's taken on the culture, a great TV host in his own right, who gave up a ridiculously big contract in order to serve you, the American people. By the way, he has 7 kids. So we appreciate Secretary Hegseth and everyone in the cabinet who really wants to serve this great country, who believes in President Trump's mission, and who are subject matter experts. It's the art of the deal in real time, because not only are they experts at what they're doing, many retired, many don't have to take this on. It's not as if they're on a stepping stone to get up to another position. They just love this country and they have the expertise to handle the respective positions that they're in. But many of them taking pay cuts, and many of them very good with the media. If you notice their communications teams, you can get videos from them that they film on their iPhones. And how great is that to have that kind of transparency? Because other administrations, remember when Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin under the auto pen had surgery? We're glad he was okay. We didn't want him to be sick, but he did not notify anyone in government. He did not notify Karine Jean-Pierre. She did not tell the press corps. In fact, it's great to go from the worst press secretary in history, Karine Jean-Pierre, the DEI hire, to the best press secretary in modern American history, Karoline Leavitt, crushing it, as we see on a regular basis. But we saw that with so much of AutoPen's White House. You had Alejandro Mayorkas, who was speaking out of both sides of his mouth, who could not secure the border. He had one job to do. And of course, their border czar, Kamala Harris, joked in an interview with mainstream news, saying that, well, I haven't been to Europe either, so what's the big deal about going to the border? Wow, it's just such a difference between what took place in 2021 through 2025 to present day with a competent administration. So just going through some of these numbers too, the migrants on the terror watch list have received Medicaid. This was found out during that cabinet meeting yesterday, if you were watching with us, from the Department of Government Efficiency under Elon Musk. Under the Biden administration, it was routine for Border Patrol to admit aliens into the United States with no legal status and minimal screening. So far, the CBP, that's the Custom and Border Patrol agents, identified a subset of 6,300 individuals paroled into the United States since 2023 on the FBI's Terrorist Screening Center watch list or with criminal records. These paroles have since been terminated with immediate effect. Despite having no legal status, paroled aliens are able to file for work authorization and receive Social Security numbers among these 6.3 thousand, so this is 6,300 paroled aliens with criminal or terrorist records. So all have a Social Security number now. This is part of Motor Voter. Was this part of their plan that seems to become true, that they would replace voters with new voters, with illegal aliens? Because we know that thanks to Bill Clinton's administration, we've had Motor Voter on the works, people coming in here and regardless of legal status, obtaining those driver's license. There was a license for bribe scandal going back to the 90s with a Republican governor in Illinois, George Ryan, when he was Secretary of State. It led him to jail because the license for bribe scandal led to an illegal alien crashing his truck into a big van of a family of 7, including, it was a pastor's family, all of the children perishing in that horrible fiery crash. It's the preventable crime that's upsetting. Of course, if you talk to a friend on the left, they say, well, what about people that die every day? Of course, that's a horrible situation. But what you have here with illegal immigration is that it could have been prevented if the federal government simply did their damn job. And thank God this federal government is back in the driver's seat in order to get that done. It should upset you. We should have Laken Riley here, that beautiful nursing student from the University of Georgia. Her life ended so painfully, so brutally. One of the things I watched, and I should not have, but I felt around Thanksgiving, I should watch those closing arguments. Their family had to go through hell because of the AutoPen administration not following the law. People need to go to jail for this. They need to be prosecuted. They're inept at what they did. And thank God we have the pros back in office. So despite having no legal status, these paroled aliens had access to our benefits as American citizens. 905 collecting Medicaid, including 4 on the terrorist watch list. 276,000 was paid out for that. 41 collecting unemployment insurance, receiving $42,000 in benefits. 22 received federal student loans totaling $280,000. 400 received net tax refunds, this is in 2024 only, mind you, of $751,000. So they were illegal, they did not pay taxes, allegedly, but then they get these refunds. What is happening? Several were final numbers to be announced received SNAP food stamp benefits. And I mean, how much more generous can this great nation be? We are so generous to so many people. In fact, if it was not for us, in Africa, the AIDS epidemic would still be raging. And that's something you can either criticize or celebrate. I think there's plenty to talk about there. But during the Bush administration, we sent hundreds of millions of dollars, if not billions, to the continent of Africa. So from 2000 to now 2025, if you have that horrible AIDS epidemic, if you are sickened with that autoimmune disease, you can live happily with that and perhaps live a very long, fulfilled life. It's because the United States got those life-saving drugs to the people of Africa. It was the generosity of the American people and public and private leadership that got that done. There's no more generous country in the world. And somehow on our college campuses, they're talking about how bad America is, while anti-Semites are running around and harming people in the process. I'm glad, for one, that Secretary of State Marco Rubio, along with President Trump, revoking the visas of guests. They're not citizens, they're not residents, guests who come here to learn from these high institutions, and then they treat people like that? Psh, just enough. Go back to your country and figure it out, and then if you want to change your heart and mind, you're welcome back anytime, but do it the legal way. Thank you to our sponsors here at Right Side Broadcasting Network Live. Of course, mypillow.com/RSBN. The My Mattress Topper sale going for $99.99, any size. And it's a limited time offer. You know Mr. Mike Lindell and his marketing prowess. He's also a great purveyor of freedom of speech, defender of election integrity, and perhaps the next governor of Minnesota. So we're hearing some rumors out there. And Mr. Mike Lindell, if you're watching, we'd be honored to have you on here again at Right Side Broadcasting Network to make that announcement. I'm not saying it's happening. I just love to see it personally. But call today, do not delay, because the best way to have a great day at work or just spend that real quality present time with your friends and family, it's getting that good night's rest. And that's with mypillow.com/RSBN. Call today, do not delay. Everything made in the US of A. 800-836-7566. That's 800-836-7566. mypillow.com/RSBN. Support Mike Lindell and the great manufacturing prowess of his team up in Minnesota. mypillow.com/RSBN. 2,000 items available for up to 50% off of everything. So the My Mattress Topper sale going on right now for only $99.99. Thank you, Mike Lindell and My Pillow, for sponsoring us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And we await the noon o'clock, perhaps maybe slightly later, a press briefing with the White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. And you know, she's only 27 years old. And President Trump told her, look, I was building skyscrapers at 21 in Manhattan. Not only are you old enough, you are qualified to do this job. And former Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany even mentioning before she took her oath of office, Karoline, that watch out, she was my deputy back during the first Trump administration. This girl knows her stuff. She can handle the media and that fake news that tries to come after her with all of their, somewhat ridiculous questions. But are you enjoying how great President Trump responds to those questions as well? And sometimes I still think getting unfair questions, but he brushes it off. And then sometimes they're just stupid questions. You had yesterday about apparently the Chinese Communist Party is not using American media anymore. They're not watching American movies. And President Trump said, well, I've heard worse stories out there. So, that's not so bad considering what could be going on. And, our thoughts and prayers too with the people of China. We love residents of these communist nations. We want people to be free. They yearn for that day of freedom. Think about living somewhere where you have to hide in an underground church, where sometimes big churches will not come to your assistance or will not speak on a global scale. I just think about this as a practicing Catholic. I have some things I appreciate Pope Francis for, some things I don't appreciate. The Christian church, especially in the West, has not been vocal enough about Chinese Christians. It should be something talked about every day. What about South Sudan and the genocide happening there? How about the Armenians who have been suffering at the hands of the Turkish government for years and years? Not only the racism and the bigotry, but you hear in the mainstream corporate outlets, Russia, 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 Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. You only hear about those conflicts, but you don't hear about those Christian communities who are being beheaded, tortured, raped, pillaged, burned at the stake. It's still happening. So our thoughts and prayers with those who are truly suffering for their faith, true martyrs to this day as we go into the Easter season and the celebrations that spring brings. We will go to a quick commercial break. Stick with us here at the high noon o'clock hour. I'm Robert McNeely. Always great to be with you at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interviewed the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. And your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. A little bit of a shift change here at the network for this broadcast. Of course, RSBN host Robert McNeely will be back a bit later today, as well as we see the president go from the White House to Joint Base Andrews and then on to the great Air Force One down to Florida, as the president, of course, today is at Walter Reed Medical Center for his annual physical. So that's happening. And then within the hour, we'll have the great White House Press Secretary, Karoline Leavitt, at the podium right there on the right side of your screen to handle the press like she does. It's always great to see that by Karoline Leavitt. So we'll be hearing a lot of truth today, a lot of defending the truth as well. After, the first monologue of what Karoline shares, she shares the truth with the American people. And then from there, she has to go into almost a defense mode in the sense of the amount of questions that come her way that usually are on the left side of the aisle. There are some conservative media in there, so that's always good to see. But at the end of the day, the truth prevails, and it always will to the end of time and into eternity. So great to be in conservative media where the truth is what we adhere to, the common sense, the Constitution, the basics of our country. Driving into work today, I was listening to some country music, and I listen to all kinds of music, but it was country today. And I was thinking about each of the people that watch our network. You're out there in all these different states across this land, trusting conservative media, trusting this great president. And it's just awesome to have a great Friday feeling of pride for our nation and pride for the United States of America, pride for the fact that we didn't go down the other path that Harris and Walz wanted to take us. And we knew that even in 2020, that President Trump won that election as well. But we learned a lot. President Trump saw a lot and dealt with a lot for us, the American people, over the past 4 years. So now here we are, driving ahead, moving ahead, pedal to the metal for our country and for our freedoms here in this country. So great to see that. Also, we're following a lot of news headlines right now at the network, including 2 breaking news headlines. Of course, yesterday's tragedy in New York City with that helicopter that crashed, claiming the lives of a number of people. Also, this morning in Boca Raton, Florida, there was a plane crash there as well. Now, we're talking about a smaller plane, but we don't know all the specifics yet. So 2 aviation disasters in less than 24 hours. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, of course, being briefed on various things and will be releasing any information as he gets it. But, Boca Raton, of course, on the Atlantic side of Florida there. In general, there have been a number of private or civilian aircraft that fly in temporary restricted airspace. Not saying that for today, but that temporary restricted airspace is when the president is at Mar-a-Lago, and jets will be scrambled, and they are scrambled almost on a at least monthly basis at this point, if not more, to let civilian aircraft know that you're not allowed in that region of the Atlantic side of Florida. Great to have a military and people that understand what needs to be done to keep our president safe. But also, we know that we pray to God, and God has sealed this president and is covering this president, as we've seen. So it's great to see that as we continue to see win after win after win. This 81 days into the second administration, 81 days. Quite awesome to see it, quite awesome to report on it. And I look forward to, once again, Robert McNeely and I were working together right here on the set. We'll be back together soon. But the point is, he'll be on a little bit later today, and I'll cover this up until the press conference at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So about 52 minutes from now, we'll go over a number of the other headlines that we're seeing here at the network. And I just want to let you know again, how grateful we are for you to be streaming in with us right here in conservative media at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We don't take it lightly, and we love to be able to share with you everything that's happening out there across this country. Before we get into some of those headlines, let's shift over to some of the sponsors. Without our sponsors, these great patriotic companies, we would not be able to put this product on air, and also you, the viewer, when you donate to the network. We can talk about that a bit later. angelpace.com. If you use the RSBN promo code, you'll get a discount off. There's other products there as well. This is out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans. A great product, great company, and a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, as it's 12:09 Eastern Time, Friday, April 11th. All right, so we know that the president is having his annual physical at the Walter Reed Hospital. Will he have a little mini press conference after that? We'll see. I'm sure we'll have some coverage a bit later. Also, we see that at 1 o'clock, the White House press conference with Karoline Leavitt. That'll be right here live in its entirety from wall to wall. Also, as for the president's upcoming schedule, on April 14th, President Nayib Bukele of El Salvador will be visiting the White House. So the El Salvadorian president will be here. And if you haven't been paying too close attention, this guy is an absolute freedom conservative rock star, supportive of MAGA, supportive of President Trump. And anybody that is supportive of MAGA and President Trump is supportive of the same thing that President Trump and MAGA is supportive of. The free world, the people of the world being free and not being under the thumb of some dictatorial government telling them what they can or cannot do when it comes to all sorts of things. You can't say this, or you can't think that in some cases. I was doing some research yesterday in China, looking at a number of newspapers and pressing the English button on, of course, the Chinese papers, and seeing some of the propaganda that's actually coming against the United States. I mean, they would list off so many things against our country there. And then also on top of that, they have a social credit score. So if you don't vote a certain way, or if you don't work this hard, or if you don't do this, or if you buy too much of a product, you get docked these points. I mean, it's this whole terrible thing. And that's why the Gadsden flag, the Don't Tread on Me flag, and that's why President Trump said less government but strong government. So we're seeing that in our country. But back to the point of El Salvador, that president there, Nayib Bukele, coming to the White House on April 14th, a huge proponent of just let go of all the people. Let us be people that have our own creative idea, or our freedom of speech, or our freedom of religion, or how about the Constitution, right? Basically what this country is founded on. So anytime someone comes against that, we see it now. We're wide awake. We're not duped by the left-wing media anymore. Let's move on now. April 17th, the next foreign leader that will visit, this according to the White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt, is Italian President Giorgia Meloni will visit the White House. A great leader there as well. And if you remember, she had this wonderful speech at CPAC via satellite or Zoom, or however she was live, but she was in Italy for that. But it was a great speech there as well. So two great freedom fighters. And when I say fighters, it doesn't always mean physical. It's just speaking up, voting correctly, getting it done on the right side of history. So we're seeing that by President Trump. We're seeing that by Bukele out of El Salvador. We're seeing that with Viktor Orban in Hungary. We see that with the Reform UK Party, with the great man there, Nigel Farage. So let's look at some more information here. What I'm looking at is back to the China situation as we continue through some of the headlines that we're seeing out there. Obviously, they're currently not playing ball. So President Trump, as you know, increased the tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%. China is now taxing our imports at, get this, 125%. That's up from 84% from just yesterday. So we're seeing China not backing off when it comes to the tariff situation. They say in China that they don't want to get involved with something like this, but if they have to, they will. Well, let's just put it this way. We will win, and that's how it works. Our goods, our manufacturing, our products, and the more we make here in America, the less there's no tariffs on any companies that make their products here. And they can be foreign companies here in America, like Toyota, Hyundai, and all that. If you're making their product here, there's no tariffs against those products. So it's a win-win for this country, and it's America first, and it's great to see it. That's the president we all voted for, and that's the president that is, I'm sure, doing very well today at the Walter Reed Medical Center, taking care of business there, getting that all clean bill of health, I'm sure will happen. He'll have a mini press conference, I'm sure. And if it's not live, if it's recorded, we'll upload that for you here on Right Side, just as we do any things that any events that happen that are not live right here on the channel, we will still upload them. Just like the other day, I think it was actually just yesterday, executive orders, or maybe the day before, executive orders that were signed at the White House. We still upload those to Rumble, YouTube, and other places, just so you can stay informed on what's going on out there, and we can stay in the know of what's happening. Also, again, if you're just joining us right now, the terrible aviation tragedies within the past 24 hours. A tourist helicopter went down in the Hudson just yesterday. And then this morning in Boca Raton, Florida, there's some videos around showing the aftermath of a smaller plane crash in Boca Raton. So those are two stories we're looking at. Of course, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy being briefed on those incidents there, and we'll share more information as we get it. We're going to shift over, double check a couple other breaking news stories if there are any. I'm going to look here in a second. And then we're going to jump to some Trump on Truth here on this Friday. Again, Friday, April 11th. It's 12:15 Eastern. Thanks so much for joining us on the network. All right, so we will have another broadcast a bit later today as well. RSBN host Robert McNeely will be covering for that one. But let's go to Kalshi before we jump into some more news as we await that press conference there in Washington. You see Kalshi right there. So when will Bitcoin hit the $150,000 mark? Before 2026, before October, before July? Well, if you'd like to jump into the bet or jump into trading, you can. There's a lot of questions on there, a lot of great questions, and it's sometimes it's will it be more than 50 degrees in New York City today? I mean, people bet on this stuff, but there's so many other questions as well, political ones, sports, weather, entertainment, all sorts of fun stuff. So just go to kalshi.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, let's just double check real quick if there's any other breaking news stories that are happening out there. Again, we saw the 2 aviation disasters recently. We are looking at also a Gateway Pundit saying RFK Jr. says he's working with Doge to tackle Medicaid fraud. The HHS secretary is saying we're in a very good position now to identify that and to eliminate it. Also, speaking of Doge and speaking of a different department, the Department of Defense, they recently, get this, just eliminated $51 billion, billion with a B, in Doge, in contracts that were not needed. $51 billion. That, according to the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth himself. So we saw that there. Very interesting to see those kind of numbers. $51 billion as the press gets ready to sit down and see this press conference that'll be at 1 o'clock. A good way to start the weekend, a fresh kind of slate of here's the directives of what's going on. You'll hear that from Karoline Leavitt. And then we'll see what kind of questions are asked by some of the press there. And we'll have that for you in its entirety right here on Right Side. All right, let's shift over to Truth Social. We do see that President Trump has been saying a number of things on Truth from earlier today. The House and Senate should push hard for more daylight at the end of the day. Very popular, and most importantly, no more changing of the clocks, a big inconvenience, and for our government, a very costly event. And it ended that Truth Social post with DJT. So those of you watching right now on wherever you're watching, Rumble, maybe watching on other platforms as well, thank you so much for streaming in wherever you're streaming in right now. But go ahead and put on there, do you want daylight saving time? Do you want it to stick around? Or do you want it to be where it is all the time, that sunnier kind of evening instead of in the morning where it shifts every time? So how about this? More daylight at night or more in the morning? So if you put night, that means you want it to stay that way, or if you want it in the morning, then we have to keep switching back and forth. I know it's kind of confusing, but for me personally, I would rather, of course, have more daylight later in the day, just as we are right now here in Alabama and throughout the country. You see that later sunset, and you have more time, maybe after work to go for a walk with the family, or just maybe go out to eat or whatever. But anyway. So that from the president about 2 hours ago. Also 2 hours ago, President Trump saying Russia has to get moving. Too many people are dying, thousands a week, in a terrible and senseless war, a war that should have never happened and wouldn't have happened if I were president. That, according to the President of the United States. He also said we are doing really well on our tariff policy, very exciting for America and the world. It is moving along quickly. So you see the president there also posting about something from years ago when Hillary Clinton was running for office, about her talking about illegal immigrants. And a lot of the policies that President Trump is using now, she was talking about then. Interesting. And so that's all President Trump posted just about 4 hours ago. So yeah, that's the Trump on Truth segment real quick. Literally 7 seconds ago, I see a new one right now. But this one is from more of a business situation here. President Donald J. Trump and Wickersham and Taft, Cadwalader, announcing the following commitments regarding a series of actions. That's more of a lengthy post. So if you want to check that out, he literally just posted that, or his team did just moments ago, right here live on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So let's look at some more of the information that we've been following here. Let's kind of have a reset, kind of it's 81 days into the second administration. And for me, the way I like to work is sometimes take that 30,000 foot view and look at everything that's going on. I know it's very easy to look at each story of the day, the 24/7 news cycle, but really, what is this all about? What's been going on over the past 81 days? We know a lot of accomplishments, a lot of wins, a lot of promises made, promises kept. Within that framework, we always will remember a couple things here at the network. At least I will. I know Robert and I talk about all of these policies as well, but the 20 core promises to the American people. That is something that we saw from the RNC platform over the summer, last summer, announced in conjunction with Agenda 47. So President Trump and the RNC together, the 20 core promises to the American people. We're going to go over some of those. And then on top of that, what we're all watching out for is what I mentioned a few times with Representative Ana Paulina Luna, the Declassification Task Force uncovering government secrets. Before I get specifically into that, at the end of the day, that 30,000 foot view I was talking about, it always is based in everything I believe that you believe in, especially if you voted for President Trump, if you're on the right side of history, which is the same thing, is always God, family, faith, country, the American flag, right? Freedom, the Constitution, the basics, the simplicity, the common sense of what this is all about. So that's the main thing that we're all into, right? So then outside of that, we see those 20 core promises that reflect everything I just said. We'll look into some of those. And then it's interesting to see the uncovering of what has happened when it comes to any government connection to the following things. All right, so Representative Ana Paulina Luna made an announcement some months back about the JFK, RFK, and MLK files when it comes to the assassinations. We know that the JFK files have been released. We know that Tulsi Gabbard just spoke about the RFK and MLK ones as well, so we'll see once those are released. What she also talked about in that press conference were the following: COVID files, 9/11 files, Epstein files, and UFO type of files. So we'll see when those are released. So again, we look at that. That's what maybe our government was involved in. I know I have my personal opinions on that. We know that there's a lot of facts and receipts, and we've been seeing a lot of what it's been like just as soon as you have someone that's an outsider as a president, what that's been like for those type of presidents, JFK, Ronald Reagan, Donald Trump. We know what it's been like, they all faced something that was very severe. But with God, all things are possible, and we have President Trump back in office, and here we are for the next 4 years. We win these midterms. We see that the country has woken up like never before. It's like 80%, it seems. Even Democrats are like, I don't want that radical junk going on in my kid's classroom. So that 30,000 foot view. Before we continue, we'll go to a sponsor here, and we'll jump into those 20 core promises. And then, of course, as we hear the latest news of the day, we'll get back into that too, and we'll hear from Karoline Leavitt there in just about 37 minutes from now. So let's go to Colonial Metals Group. It's freegoldguide.com/RSBN is the website for that info kit on gold and silver, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold and silver. So you'll get that free info kit by just going to freegoldguide.com. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. You can also go to the QR code right there and get right to that website to get the information that you're looking for, as you kind of see maybe in your retirement or your savings that you kind of want to put that in a very, very secure area, tax sheltered IRA, 401k. You could work with Colonial Metals Group. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All right, so back to the point. So we talked the 30,000 foot view. We see 81 days in, we see great wins. We understand that we're living in historic times. Every day of this presidency is historic because of the great political comeback that happened against all odds. Compare it to, it's not the best comparison, but there's still an analogy there. Sports, any kind of sports moment where a team is down or where it looks like the team is about to lose, but somehow, some way at that last second, that three-pointer by Michael Jordan, boom, makes it, wins the championship. Or Wayne Gretzky in hockey, skating down the ice. That slap shot wins New York or LA or wherever he was playing, Edmonton, a lot of teams, and the crowd goes wild. Or Joe Montana, for the 49er fans out there like myself, when Joe Montana would throw to Jerry Rice back in the 80s, right? And there would be a huge win. That's what happened to our country. We were about to lose. We were down and out for a little bit, but we didn't lose because this is America. And this is what happened. We became awake. The entire country said, you know what? We, the people, are voting for the right person. And people from all walks of life, all backgrounds, former Democrats shifted over. Everybody saw the line in the sand. And they said, do I want to be on the right side of history, or do I want to go with what is being done as evil? And we saw many people, a majority of the country, go to the right. The people that did not vote for President Trump, this is not an attack on them at all, because I believe there are many good-hearted people that are Democrats across this country. I know some of them. And the point is sometimes, for some reason, that indoctrination over the years from the media, from entertainment, from the politicians, from the fake news, big part of it, acting like it's truth, reporting from the desk, this is the news tonight, and it was crap, and it was lies. And so people got so sucked into that, right? I remember in college, I remember hearing from a professor anti-American kind of sentiment, and I started buying into it just a little bit. But then I started being like, no, that's not true. And being a Christian, a conservative, and just and believing in our country and believing in the American way and just reading the Constitution, you know, got me out of that kind of even close to believing any of that stuff. So anyway, the point is, back to the 81 days in and what we're all dealing with each day across this country. If you just joined us, I was talking earlier about driving into work today, and it's a sunny day here in Alabama, and you know, thinking about all of you guys that are on the right side of history, that just love God, love our country, love this president, love MAGA, love freedom, and I was just I felt just grateful that we're on the right side of history, and that there is media on conservative sides now that is quite awesome, that you guys can watch these live reports. And what you'll see with the White House press secretary in just a bit, and all of the events that we cover with President Trump, but not only the president, all of the cabinet, when there's a video from the Secretary of Defense or Department of Homeland Security or HHS or yesterday's cabinet meeting, with Robert McNeely covering that yesterday, we saw the full cabinet meeting. Like, this is stuff that the left-wing media doesn't want basic truth to get out, because they keep wanting to control your mind. And it's awesome that we have this outlet right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. And I thought about the other conservative media outlets and other podcasters and all this truth that's being out there. And I think what we need to do on the right side is to really have a respect for each other, because we really are saying the same thing in a way that is for truth. And instead, on the right, of having a patriot celebrity aspect, like trying to be a patriot celebrity, and you don't have any time for anybody else in conservative media, that's a bunch of crap. At the end of the day, I was talking to a buddy about that the other day. He's the one that brought it up. I said, you're right, patriot celebrity, what is that? I don't think there should be time for a patriot celebrity. We should all be together in this as patriots for our country moving together because of the seriousness of what might have just happened over the past 4 years, and if Harris and Walz would have won this thing. We should simply be on the same team with this and just move forward together. Yes, high-fiving each other and cheering each other on, because this isn't just a business. It is. Yes, there's competition, whatever. But I think that really at the end of the day, speaking truth and speaking from your heart and resonating with the American people is really what this is about. And all of you guys, again, we're on the same team, looking forward to seeing great things happen over this 4 years. The midterms are important. We can't just be like, oh, President Trump's in office, everything's great. We have to get out and vote in 2026 in November. President Trump said the other day he's going to do tele-rallies and he's going to do some rallies as well. So Rally Day in America will be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Quite cool. And of course, it'd be great to cover it. And in conservative media, just being able to have that opportunity to cover truth and common sense. Who cares what the left-wing media says? Who cares what the left-wing media says? They keep trying to hold on to power. And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to hold on to power. The power is for we, the people. We don't want to take it from, that's the thing. They want to control that narrative. We're not trying to control the narrative here. We just want to be able to show you, hey, this is what's going on. And yes, there is bias here. It's because it's biased to what? Actually, not President Trump only, to common sense and truth. And that's what he stands for. So therefore, that's why you see that we're on the right side of history with it. All right, so I didn't plan a whole monologue of sorts here, but hey, it's Friday and I hope you're having a good time and looking forward to the weekend. And just whether you're going to the beach, whether you're going to the mountains, whether you're going to hike, whether you're going to chill out and stay inside, watch a movie, whether you're going to go for a walk with your family, I hope you have a great weekend. And if there's any breaking news this weekend, RSBN's Robert McNeely will be right here for you to bring that to you as we move forward as a network. So I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve on this Friday because at the end of the day, that's what we see with President Trump. I mean, think about it. The amount of times that he would go off prompter and just riff at those rallies is why you guys and why myself and others here at the network said we like that guy. He's one of us. And that's what we haven't seen in media. We've only seen talking points and reading to from a teleprompter and this is the news and all that kind of thing. And sometimes we have to go into that aspect of the news and share what's happening out there, sure. But part of this is all of us connecting and us moving forward in peace through strength. I get all this, if you think it's soft what I'm talking about, who cares? Because outside of this, I'm proud of the United States military, our Army, with the Army strikers down at the southern border, those patrols that they're doing by foot, and the Army strikers in those vehicles, and saying to the other side of this that border, you're not coming in anymore. The fentanyl, the drugs that the Coast Guard and the Navy are just eliminating from our country is quite awesome. So we're seeing a lot of great things happen. Wanted to share that with you. For the first half hour, we were looking at a number of news headlines. We're going to look at those core promises in just a second. We're going to go to that press conference with Karoline Leavitt in just a bit. Before we go and do all of that, let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. and your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish My Pillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard My Pillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use My Pillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all My Pillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Welcome back on this Friday, April 11th. Thanks so much for streaming in. Wherever you're watching right now, hope you're having a good Friday. Hopefully be a great weekend for you, especially that we have a winner in chief, the Commander-in-Chief, President Trump, and a super winner as well as the White House Press Secretary, Karoline Leavitt, who does a great job there. So looking forward to seeing the press conference. For me, you know, being in news and politics, I'm a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I love watching a press briefing. It's great to see the back and forth and see the truth prevail, especially with this press secretary. So it's very fun to watch. Glad we can watch together here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. All right, so just to wrap up what I was talking about in the first half hour, as we are monitoring various news and stories that are happening, including that there are a couple foreign leaders coming to the White House on April 14th and April 17th. That's Nayib Bukele, the El Salvadorian president, on the 14th, and President Giorgia Meloni will be here from Italy on the 17th. Other than a number of headlines and President Trump's Truth Social posts, I want to read you a quote that I've read probably 5 or 6 times, but it really kind of sums up what this whole 30,000-foot view is of what's going on in our country and really the direction that President Trump is taking us. This is what he said on January 20th, 2025, some 81 days ago. It's exactly 81 days ago he said this. In everything we do, my administration will be inspired by a strong pursuit of excellence and unrelenting success. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. We will not forget our country, we will not forget our Constitution, and we will not forget our God. President Trump, January 20th, 2025. Speaking of the president, there's about a 60-second clip that we're going to play for you. For those of you that missed it, I haven't seen the clip yet, so I'm glad that we can watch it together. It's from about 48 hours ago. President Trump was signing some executive orders. Here's that clip.
The Biden administration launched what you called a war on showers. They had certain regulations that basically killed the water pressure of showers and other water appliances.
You can say it. Go ahead. What are the appliances?
I mean, it's everything, sir.
Sinks and toilets.
Dishwashers, toilets, sinks. But the shower heads are a huge
There's no
deal.
water. You don't get water. It's ridiculous.
So with this executive order, we're effectively going to be reversing that set of regulations to ensure that Americans have choice in the consumer market. If they want a low-flow shower head, they can buy one. If they want a real deal shower head, they should have the ability. That's true.
If you buy a new house, you pay a lot of money, and the developers, you're not allowed to do anything more. They put restrictors on. They used to have a restrictor where you could take it out, but now they weld it in. and you take a shower or wash your hands, whatever you do, including dishwashers when no water comes out. But you wash your hands, and in my case, I like to take a nice shower to take care of my beautiful hair. I have to stand under the shower for 15 minutes till it gets wet. It comes out drip, drip, drip. It's ridiculous.
Make America laugh again, make comedy great again. You know, Robert McNeely and I, we both like comedy. I mean, a lot of you do too, but it's great to see, you know, people laughing in the Oval Office again. It's okay to laugh, right? We are human. It's okay to have a joyful emotion, but at the end of the day, we know President Trump, very serious at times, but can also joke all the way through and hopefully laugh when it comes to the wins that are happening and the great things that are happening. So we're monitoring all of the promises. We're monitoring all of the things, right, here at the network. So we're going to go over some of those core promises in just a second as they're getting ready there at the White House press briefing room, the James S. Brady press briefing room in the West Wing. Let's first go to 1775 coffee. It's not just a caffeine fix. It's infused with CAAKG. It's a breakthrough compound shown to support cellular health, boost endurance, and even reduce biological age by up to 8 years in just 7 months. So not only are you getting a good cup of joe, you're getting a lot of good stuff in there as well. All you have to do is go to 1775coffee.com/RSBN. So use that RSBN promo code. Check it out, from $250 at regular price down to $99. That's for that longevity bundle. Only 1,000 available, probably less than that at this point. We've been advertising with this great company, 1775 Coffee, for quite some time, at least within the past week or two. So as this is a national broadcast, you know, and people from around the world, there are people that actually watch. We got an email the other day from somebody from Scotland. I'll be interviewing somebody from that moved from Ireland coming up, and I'll tell you more about Eddie here in a second. But at the end of the day, great sponsor here at the network, 1775coffee.com/RSBN, as it's about 19 minutes to the top of the hour on this Friday. A little bit cloudy, a little bit foggy there, it looks like in D.C., maybe a little bit humid, but looking forward to some nice weather, hopefully nice weather throughout the country. I know it's been tough. Very tough. I monitor the weather too, and I like to see what's going on out there. And man, it's been really tough with those tornadoes. And you know, but staying clear of those and sticking to any weather reports that you have in your local area, and also the Radar Scope app and others, just to stay abreast of what's going on out there. All right, so let's go to a number of details from the 20 core promises to the American people, and let's do kind of a, you know, an 81 days in check here. Let's see which ones that the 20 core promises are already happening in our country. So I'll just read them, and then we'll just say, you know, check, that's happening, or this one isn't happening as much yet, or we'll see. Number 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. Check. Number 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. It's happening. Check. And inflation and make America affordable again. That is happening. We're seeing inflation drop. We're seeing gas prices drop. We're seeing egg prices go down. Now, is it the price of gas per gallon what it was under the first administration? Not yet. But we are monitoring it, and we know that that's on the way. And we know that President Trump's doing everything he can with his great team to do everything possible. And think about it, though. 81 days is really what, 2.5 months? You know, it's not that long of time. So we're seeing that happen, though. All right, let's go to make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Check. We just saw the other day the executive orders being signed to make America energy independent again. So great to see that happening. So many people, including those coal miners, for beautiful, clean coal, there at the White House from the East Room the other day. Well, he signed a number of executive orders, including shoring up our electric grid and other great things to make us the dominant energy producer in the world. And of course, you can't forget saying, drill, baby, drill. We know these are all promises that President Trump said on the campaign trail. We're going through a number of them right now. How about number 5? Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. It's America first. It's great to see it. Made in the USA. And these tariffs are probably scaring the you-know-what out of some of these countries, and they're wanting to come to the table. How about more than 75 of them? And a lot of people are saying, okay, well, let's invest in America. Let's build, let's produce, let's manufacture, let's have factories there, let's have more jobs there. It's all good. Because when you start talking to somebody about the money, that's when they start making moves. They're like, okay, so then let's make the move. Let's make this equal. Let's work this out. So we see that with number 5, stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Again, we're awaiting the press briefing. If you're just joining us, that starts in about 16 minutes from now. We'll bring it to you in its entirety. And then on top of that, a little bit later, we're going to see some more travel from the president. RSBN's Robert McNeely will be back here in the anchor chair to tell us about what's going on that third broadcast. As you might have seen, Robert, at the first broadcast, I'm filling in here for the second. And great to be back here at Right Side at the desk, as if you remember, just last week was in San Antonio for the NCAA Auburn Tigers basketball game against Florida. We know how that went. Florida won, but it was great to connect with the people of Auburn there in San Antonio. Anyway, back to number 6. So this is out of 20 of the core promises. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips, no tax on overtime pay. We're seeing, I believe that will be part of that big, beautiful bill when it comes to taxes and all that. So looking forward to all of seeing that happen. Number 7, defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. How about that? I'm going to read it again for those that, I don't know, just feel like reading it again. Number 7. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and the right to keep and bear arms. Number 7 is my favorite one out of the 20 core promises because it's just the root of this nation. And it's really, really about what the number 7 is. So, and we're seeing that by President Trump and this team every day at that White House. Number 8, prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and in the Middle East, and build a great Iron Dome missile defense shield over our entire country, all made in America. The Iron Dome, not done yet. That's coming down the pike. We do know that President Trump has been meeting with and discussing with world leaders in Europe and in the Middle East to get peace involved in both parts of the world. We know that, I believe, Steve Witkoff is actually meeting with Vladimir Putin today. I saw a video of Putin shaking the hand of Mr. Witkoff. So they're working on it with Russia. They're working on it with Ukraine. You have to interact a little bit with both places to get the peace done. And so we're seeing that. And then, of course, with the Middle East, we know that President Trump involved there with Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. They just met just on Monday at the White House. So we'll see how that process goes as well. How about number 9? End the weaponization of government against the American people. End the weaponization of government against the American people. And that comes with, I believe, some prosecution to those that have broken the law, literally broken the law, when it comes to maybe the past administration and those involved there. I'll stop there. I'll see what Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and others do when it comes to that a bit later. Number 10, before we get to that, let's take a quick break. Let's go to some of our sponsors, as of course we don't go to long commercial breaks here. So let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. You see there, $99.99 for that mattress topper, the great Mike Lindell right there. Up to 50% off everything, up to 50% off everything. And when I say everything, there's more than 2,000 products to choose from. And every product that I've purchased, my wife and I and other family members and people that we know in Pennsylvania where we're both from and all that, they love these products. So if you're looking for a new set of slippers or slides or maybe the Giza Dream Sheets or the pillow or mattress topper, give it a shot right there, mypillow.com/RSBN. All right, so we're about 12 minutes out. So let's read through the rest of this list here. We're at number 10. So we have 10 more to go. We're going to go rapid succession here and get them done. Number 10, stop the migrant crime epidemic. Demolish the foreign drug cartels. We know that the drug cartels are now listed as a terrorist organization. We know that we have our military along that border. We'll see what that looks like maybe in the future. I only say that out of opinion. I have no intel on anything moving forward from the DoD, but we are monitoring the fact that there are our military, Marines, Army, the National Guard, the Navy, the Coast Guard, Space Force is monitoring things, obviously in space as well. There's a lot going on as we continue to monitor that. Also, to crush gang violence and lock up violent offenders. It's all happening. We're seeing it. Number 11, rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. If you remember, President Trump put a photo out there of a section of D.C. that was just not looking so hot, and then the before and after photo, and then it got cleaned up real quick. So in sections, we're seeing that happen. Number 12, again, these are the core promises from President Trump and the RNC to the American people. Just reading them here, 20 of them. We're on number 12, and then it should line us up for right when it's time to toss to the press briefing there in Washington, again on this Friday, April 11th. To strengthen and modernize our military, making it without question the strongest and most powerful in the world. Enough said, it's already happening. How about that F-47? Case in point. Holy smokes, what a freaking plane that's going to be. If you love that movie Top Gun or Maverick, it's that 6th generation F-47. How awesome is that? You're the 47th president, and it's not an F-16 made after you. It's not an F-18. It's not a Hornet. It's not a Blue Angel plane, which, by the way, are all awesome. The Blue Angels are so cool. But the F-47, insane. It's insane. Number 12, let's go to actually number 13, because we just read that about the military. Number 13 is keep the U.S. dollar as the world's reserve currency. So working on that, seeing that happen within the economy and throughout the globe. We'll monitor that process as well. Number 14, fight for and protect Social Security and Medicare with no cuts and no changes to the retirement age. Number 15, cancel the electric vehicle mandate and cut costly and burdensome regulations. We're seeing that happen as well. Number 16 out of 20, almost there. Cut federal funding for any school pushing critical race theory, radical gender ideology, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content on our children. So cut the federal funding, and that we know is already happening. And we're seeing that get reset to more of a moral fabric of our country, not this woke, radical, leftist, communist, Marxist ideology that just simply wants to steal and destroy. Reminds me of Satan in the Bible, his objectives. So we're seeing that good versus evil right here, right now, and we're seeing good win. And we know in the way end that good will win the whole thing. We just have some time until we get there. Historic times we're covering this president, so it's interesting to mix all of the, faith, the Bible and politics, and just seeing it all come together. Stuff you just won't hear, of course, on the mainstream media at all because they don't like that stuff. All right, number 17, keep men out of women's sports. Come on now, let's get that done. Keep men out of women's sports. Number 18, deport pro-Hamas radicals and make our college campuses safe and patriotic again. We're seeing that happen. Number 19, secure our elections, including same-day voting, voter ID, paper ballots, and proof of citizenship. Seeing that as well. President Trump understands election security, integrity, and the whole thing with 2024, it was too big to rig. There's so many people that voted for President Trump. It seems as if, and I think I heard this right, that every state actually, even if it was a loss in there, it still shifted red, shifted to the right, winning every swing state. Quite awesome. Number 20, to round out the 20 core promises. Again, this is from the Republican National Committee at that convention and President Trump's Agenda 47. When you mesh, you have these 20 core promises, is unite our country by bringing it to new and record levels of success. So that wraps up the top 20 right there, or the 20 core promises to the American people. And what you'll see through all 20 of those promises are the following things: truth, transparency, common sense, love for God, love for our country, love for our military, love for our seniors, love for our youth, love for everyone, right? That's what we see throughout that whole thing. And so, and not pushing those woke ideologies that are extremely way left onto our youth, onto our people, onto even college campuses, and doing it that way because it's what the majority of the people voted for. Now, if the majority of the country voted for the other side, then that means the majority of the country wanted all those radical, terrible things, and that would have been quite awful. But we are the land of the free here, home of the brave, land of the free, and we don't want that other stuff. Pretty simple. It's common sense. Don't need rocket science for that. Need Elon Musk to explain the rocket science. Holy smokes, did you guys see some of those? I still can't believe how those rocket boosters are able to just come back down like that. It's quite awesome to watch. What a wild time to be living here. 2025, covering the historic presidency of Donald Trump, the second, actually third win of a president. We saw what happened in 2016 and 17. We saw what happened in 2020, and we saw what happened in 24. He won them all. So anyway. All right, so it's 6 minutes out from the top of the hour. So we're seeing more of the journalists getting ready for the press briefing there. It'll be great to see Karoline Leavitt as a rock star in the movement just because of her raw talent, but also the content that she speaks is so on point when it comes to our country and President Trump's agenda. So quite awesome to hear from her. Here's some of the questions and answers back and forth. On top of that, we do know President Trump is having his annual physical at Walter Reed Medical Center, the hospital there. So I believe a little bit later, there may be, I wouldn't think it's outside the hospital, maybe inside the hospital. There'll be a quick, press back, couple questions and answers there with that. So we'll have that coverage here. Now, whether that's live or recorded and uploaded, it all depends sometimes on the actual feed from Washington, D.C. and surrounding areas, if it's live or if it's recorded. But we'll still show it to you, whether we're live on the channel like right now, or we'll upload it to Rumble, YouTube, X, Truth Social, and on Getter and everywhere else that you check us out, including our RSBN app and rsbnetwork.com. Speaking of our network, if you'd like to donate to Right Side at all, if you like what you see, regardless of myself, Robert, and everybody, we love providing you this coverage, but even if it's just for seeing what you see on this network, where you're about to see the entire press conference or the executive orders that are signed, if you'd like that, if you'd like to donate at all, whether that's literally $1 off the debit card or $100, whatever it is. If you can do it, great. If you can't, we totally understand. But text RSBN to 801-801, and that money will go to this network and the expansion of this network. So text RSBN to 801-801 if you'd like to donate to Right Side. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour. I believe the producer just said Colonial Metals Group. Is that right? Yep. All right, Colonial Metals Group. There you go. freegoldguide.com/RSBN. Great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, Colonial Metals Group. So, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, backed in gold and silver. We know that people like Warren Buffett, maybe we don't agree, of course, not maybe, we don't agree with some of his politics or most of his politics, but he has a lot of knowledge when it comes to finances. And he's dropping, $133 billion in stocks, dumping that stocks, and we're seeing these retirement warnings out there. So having, whether it's a portion of your retirement or savings in gold or in silver, a great idea. So just go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN. So freegoldguide.com/RSBN. All right, so we're 3 minutes away from the top of the hour, and we'll see if that's right when Karoline Leavitt appears on screen there on the right side of your screen. If not, we'll continue to stand by and discuss some of the news of the day, including a couple aviation tragedies that have happened in New York and in Florida. Just yesterday, the helicopter crash in the Hudson, when it comes to the tourists that were on that helicopter, something obviously went wrong and claimed the lives of the people on that helicopter. And then this morning in Boca Raton, Florida, on the Atlantic side, I believe a smaller plane went down. We did see video, and we're seeing reports about that. So 2 aviation disasters, smaller scale, but still nonetheless human life, somehow not with us anymore because of two situations, one in New York with the helicopter, one with the smaller plane in Florida. The Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, I remember looking on X, talking about receiving briefings on what the heck happened for both of these events. I actually, to be straight up, I only saw him say that for the helicopter crash, but I believe he'll be saying the same thing for the crash that happened in Florida just this morning. On top of that, we have some other upcoming news on April 14th, as you may have heard a few times here. The president of El Salvador, Nayib Bukele, will be at the White House visiting with the president. The Italian president, Giorgia Meloni, she'll be at the White House on April 17th. We'll have all of those details here for you. Now, in my notes, it has the information about China when it comes to the tariffs. And it says here that, I'll read it verbatim. As for China, they're currently not playing ball, so President Trump has increased tariffs on Chinese imports to 125%. China is now taxing our imports at a rate of 84%. Those were the notes. I have to erase the 84% because it's now 125%. That just coming down the pike as well from China. So China is matching the 125. So we'll see how that all transpires. I know we win 10 times out of 10 when it comes to this kind of stuff, but that's what China's doing. So that's where it's at this point. All right, outside of that, let's go to President Trump's Truth Social account as it is the top of the hour. I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for streaming in with us right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. This is one of 3 streams that will happen today. We had a live stream earlier, of course, with RSBN host Robert McNeely. He'll also be hosting that coverage on the next live broadcast. This is the second broadcast of the day as we are getting ready for the press secretary to take to that podium there. President Trump, just about 18 minutes ago, posted an article from the Washington Times saying Trump's first 3 cabinet meetings feature more press questions and answers than all of Biden's. That's interesting. So whether that's President Trump hosting this or someone from his team, I don't know the details on that. I believe it's President Trump. I know that when he says DJT on there, it's definitely him. AMAC.us, President Trump is saving Social Security and stopping fraud. Don't believe the media lies. Amen to that. Don't believe the media lies. How about don't even listen to the media anymore on the other side of the aisle? There's enough conservative options, including right here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, that will bring you the common sense of what's actually happening out there. A lot of those left-wing networks have teleprompters that they read from. It's not a bad thing to have a teleprompter. President Trump uses a teleprompter on occasion, but it is fun when he riffs. But we're not using one here at this network. Usually a producer would type a whole script, and that script is all based in crap. Let's just be straight up. And that's, why not speak truth, right? Anyway, so they just type up all this stuff, and it's all false narrative, left side of the aisle, all anti-America, all anti-Trump, anti-people, anti-freedom, anti-Christ, anti-God. And that's the way it's been for so many years on the mainstream media side. And so why listen? Why read? Why click on their junk anymore? It's crap, all of it. All of it's junk. It's my opinion. I believe a lot of the people here at the network agree. I mean, Robert McNeely and I have talked about it before, and Christina Loren and others, and it's kind of clear now. So, but you'll see that. It's not just me saying that, of course. Karoline Leavitt, when she goes up there on that podium, and if she hears a fake news question repeated in just a different kind of way, she'll call them out. So it's not that we're just on the side of maybe Karoline Leavitt and President Trump and others. We're on the side of what's the best for we the people. And that's what President Trump and the team are on, that side. So are we. It's kind of clear and cut and dry. It's not confusing at all. And that's what the left likes to do. They like to confuse, lie, spin, all that junk. And we just don't do that. Why be on that side? Why be into lies and sharing the false narrative? But anyway, it's Friday. We should lighten up a little bit here, huh? All right, so it is, again, 103, Friday, April 11th. It's going to be a great weekend. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend, awesome rest of the day, as we will have more live coverage coming up. again, from President Trump when it comes to Walter Reed Hospital. There may be, as we call it, a press gaggle, a quick press conference with the president there. But we will definitely see him going to Joint Base Andrews and also Air Force One as he flies to the winter White House. But it's not really winter time anymore, so let's just call it the Southern White House for now. And then he'll be there, I believe, for the weekend. And then, next week, 2 world leaders will be here. Let me double check all the dates on my phone. Okay, so the 14th and the 17th. So on Monday and on Thursday, foreign leaders will be at the White House. So the 14th, the El Salvador president, Nayib Bukele, will be there on the 14th. On the 17th, that's Giorgia Meloni, the president of Italy. She'll be there on the 17th. So El Salvador and Italy joining us here in our great, wonderful, beloved country here in the United States. For those of you that have traveled overseas for whether it's vacation, whether it's business, whether it's just a good time, whether it's a missions trip, whatever it is. But when you are there and you're not on the American soil, you can tell. You're like, this is not America. Duh, we're not in America, right? But when you come back to this country, when you come back and you see the United States immigration and you come back in and you have your passport and your license and you're back on the soil of this land is our land. We love it. And it's great to have freedom on it. And quite a history of this country as we're going to celebrate next year. So not this July 4th, even though it's going to be awesome, but July 4th of 2026. So just next year, the 250th birthday of this great land. And it's going to be a great, great party for our country. And President Trump spoke about this within Agenda 47, that there will be a huge, huge party at the Iowa State Fairgrounds. So it's going to be a huge celebration. July 4th, 2026, not only with God's protection there, but with the great protection, I believe, of all levels of government, from local to state to county to regional to national, federal, plainclothes officers, also all sorts of uniformed officers, a very protected environment, but still a great moment for our country. 250 years celebrating it next year. And while I'm on that kind of discussion talking point, again, just real quick, Mount Rushmore has room for President Trump's face. Am I right about it? President Trump should be right there. If you're looking at Mount Rushmore, here are the presidents, and here's Abraham Lincoln. There's room right here for President Trump. Get it done. He is on the same level, in my opinion, as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Ronald Reagan, Abe Lincoln. And he's got the similarities of William McKinley as well, the tariffs and trade. So one of the greatest presidents that we've ever seen, of all time. And in some cases, if not the best. But I'm not going there. I'm just going to say he's on the same level as some of our great presidents. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Anyway, getting ready for this great press conference here soon. Thanks so much for streaming in on this Friday. Let's go to angelpacerealquick.com, a great sponsor here at the network. All you have to do is go to angelpace.com, use the RSBN promo code. You'll get some great products there, great discounts out of Spring, Texas. They hire military veterans. Enough said, right? angelpace.com and use that RSBN promo code. All right, so it's 1:07 Friday, April 11th. Let me double check on any new President Trump truths on Truth Social. As of right now, we see that again, earlier today, the president speaking about a number of things, including the House and Senate should push hard for more daylight at the end of the day. Very popular, and most importantly, no more changing the clocks, a big inconvenience, and for our government, a very costly event. The president also says Russia has to get moving. Too many people are dying, thousands a week, in a terrible and senseless war, a war that should have never happened and wouldn't have happened if I were president. We see that peace through strength going full blast right now, and it's great to see it. I believe the envoy, Steve Witkoff, is there meeting with Vladimir Putin as we speak. And we know that President Trump has been trying to work out deals with both Zelensky and Putin, so we're seeing that hopefully progress. And then, of course, President Trump doing a lot of America First policies, whether it's just the other day making America energy independent again, as the coal miners were in the White House, so the East Room of the White House. One of the coal miners speaking there And just the other day as well, that NRCC, if you remember, it was the National Republican Congressional Committee dinner, where some of the hostages, 33 of the hostages that were held by Hamas, there were 3 that came up on stage. And if you were watching that coverage, I was working that night, and President Trump's speech was just like a rally speech. It was funny, it was solid, it was great, it had that roller coaster, right? But it was on point. But when those hostages came up and he allowed them to speak, of course he's going to allow them to speak. These are American heroes that come back and survive something like that. But when they spoke, there was a serious tone that happened, and President Trump, even after that, it was quite powerful. So if you missed that, check it out, as we're seeing some people enter the room there, getting ready for Karoline Leavitt. But it was really heartfelt to hear from these hostages. Now, there are 24 that are still there that are alive that need to be released, and President Trump working on that as well. But it's just great to see that President Trump at that moment, in front of the national TV cameras, in front of our live feed, in front of a lot of people watching, everyone in the audience, that he stopped and he spoke with the 3 hostages after they were done speaking, and he took like 2 or 3 minutes, which seems like an eternity when you're doing a live speech. But that's what I like about President Trump and the team. They're just common sense guys. They get it. You know, these are hostages they almost lost their lives from that terrible terrorist group, and he spent time with them. And I think that, again, is just another showing of what we voted for, a common sense president that wins, and we're monitoring all of the promises that he has made. We're monitoring those files that Representative Ana Paulina Luna said that they would be releasing to the American people. We're waiting for some of them, as you guys know. But we really are seeing our country one day at a time be saved to the fullest extent. We're looking forward to our country being fully saved. Right now, there's still work to be done. We're only 81 days into President Trump's second administration, so great to cover it here with you guys. Great for you to watch with us. And at any minute, we're going to hear from the great Karoline Leavitt, who, as Robert McNeely puts it, is batting 1,000. She's doing a great job as the press secretary here for President Trump. At 27 years old, stands right up there in front of the so-called national press. But the thing that I think she gets a lot of confidence from, I saw an interview on 700 Club. She and the team pray before, like literally right now. If she walks out in 10 seconds, they're praying right now. And they pray every time before they go out to that press conference room. Not only do they give God glory and pray for his strength and his power, she also, and that team, also stands, speaks, believes, thinks, dwells on truth. So no wonder there's this courage and this boldness that you're about to see when she comes out there. If she was on the side of lies and if she didn't care about God, you would have some of the past press secretaries the way they have been. Not only KJP under Biden, but other ones in the past. You know what it's like to go up there and lie constantly as a press secretary? I don't know, because I'm not a press secretary and I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be like, hey, this is what's happening, just like Karoline Leavitt does. But it's what she has. She has the truth on her side. She has God on her side. She has the country on her side. So she goes up there. No wonder she's able to do this. She's 27. She goes up there and does, I mean, holy smokes, watch what she's about to do. Anyway, I like this stuff. It's fun. But it's interesting because all of them are so-called big press. Oh, ABC. Ooh, who cares anymore? They just lie to the American people. They just do it in a nice way. They have these beautiful $1 million sets and all that stuff, and there's nothing wrong with having $1 million sets and looking good and all that. But they've done it year after year for decades. And so getting ready now for Karoline Leavitt to enter that room and hold this great press conference here on this Friday, April 11th. It is 1:13 Eastern Time. And so glad you're with us. Again, President Trump right now at the Walter Reed Hospital for his annual physical. So we'll hear how that went. It's going to be great. He's going to be, I have a clean bill of health. I can't impersonate Donald Trump very well. I know Robert McNeely can. But he's going to come out and talk about that, I'm sure. And then a bit later, we'll have more coverage live, and Robert will be here for that, as we'll see President Trump go to Joint Base Andrews, I believe from Marine One, and then take off on Air Force One, which Robert was on that plane as well. And let's go to Karoline Leavitt. Watch this.
Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday. As you all know, the President is currently undergoing his routine and long-scheduled physical at Walter Reed Medical Center, and we will have a readout from the White House physician. Last night, Kassina Karolina arrived back safely in the United States after being detained in Russia for more than a year. Since Inauguration Day, President Trump and his team have secured the release of more than 40 detained Americans abroad. This is more than half of the number of Americans released by Joe Biden in 4 years, and President Trump has brought these Americans home in 80 days. This administration will continue to work hard to bring Americans home from around the world. As I've said before, and I will say it again today, everybody in this room has access to the most transparent and accessible president in American history. The cabinet meeting yesterday was further proof. President Trump asked each secretary to provide an update to all of you in the media on the critical work they are doing at their respective agencies to deliver on his agenda. And according to new reporting from the Washington Times, who I believe is in this room today, President Trump answered nearly 100 questions from the press, all of you, during his first 3 open press cabinet meetings this year. That's nearly 20 times the number answered by Joe Biden in cabinet meetings during his entire 4 years in office. In more excellent economic news that was released yesterday, the Consumer Price Index report showed inflation fell to 2.4% in March, smashing expectations for the second straight month in a row. This marked the first drop in consumer prices dating all the way back to the COVID pandemic. Prescription drug prices saw the largest monthly decline on record. Prices for airfare, used vehicles, and car insurance all decreased as well. And energy prices fell 2.4% in March, driven by plummeting gas prices around the country. Also yesterday, House Republicans answered President Trump's call to move forward the budget resolution and officially set the stage for the passage of one big, beautiful bill. The American economy will boom after this bill is passed and the rest of the president's pro-growth agenda goes into effect. The largest tax cuts and deregulation in history, coupled with our energy industry unleashed and renegotiated trade agreements that put America first, are the ultimate formula to usher in the golden age of America. On that note, more than 75 countries have now reached out to the Trump administration, eager to address the trade issues that have exploited America and hurt our workers in the process. The phones have been ringing off the hook to make deals, and these countries wisely heeded President Trump's warning not to retaliate, and as a result, they were rewarded with a 90-day pause and substantially lower reciprocal tariff rates during this period so potential solutions can be achieved. Past presidents just willingly accepted the failed status quo on trade that ripped off our workers and our companies. But that's not who this president is. He creates his own leverage and negotiates deals better than anyone else who has sat in the Oval Office before him. And that process is currently underway. On another matter, the deadline for registration under the Alien Registration Act is today. All foreign nationals present in the United States longer than 30 days must register with the federal government. Failure to comply with this is a crime, punishable by fines, imprisonment, or both. As President Trump and Secretary Noem have both said, if you register and you leave now, you choose to self-deport, you may have the opportunity to return later legally. But if not, you will be arrested, fined, deported, never to return to our country again. The Trump administration will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws. We will not pick and choose which laws to enforce. We must know who is in our country for the safety and the security of our homeland and for all American citizens. I also have a note from the First Lady to share with you on this Friday. On Tuesday this week, First Lady Melania Trump celebrated the advancement of the Take It Down Act in the House Energy and Commerce Committee. The important legislation passed the committee with bipartisan support, and as you may remember, the President talked about this bill in his address to a joint session of Congress last month. The First Lady remains dedicated to her championing child well-being, ensuring that every young person can thrive, and, of course, championing her Be Best agenda. We urge Congress to swiftly pass this important legislation. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jordan Berman. Jordan is a social media content creator and influencer and a lawyer who grew up following breaking down the news from a neutral perspective. Jordan is the host of her own podcast called Unbiased Politics, where she dissects the top stories from the week from a legal perspective. Jordan focuses on bringing back real journalism from a nonpartisan perspective and has mastered explaining complex legal decisions to a mass audience in the short-form context. Her two biggest platforms are TikTok and Instagram, where she has roughly 500,000 followers on each. With that, please kick us off, Jordan.
Thank you. As you know, yesterday the House passed the SAVE Act, and many married women, soon-to-be married women, are concerned that the new voter ID requirements may inhibit their access to the polls. What assurances can you give women voters in America to ease their concerns?
Sure. Well, the SAVE Act, as you mentioned, was passed by the House yesterday. This is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. I believe I'm getting that correct. And this act is a common sense measure. It would require proof of citizenship for voting in our elections. The Democrats have been fear-mongering about this bill, have been saying that married women, if their name has changed, they didn't change it on their identification, would not be able to vote. That is complete fallacy. There are outlined in the bill about how to avoid that. The president very much supports a common sense solution to ensuring that only citizens can engage in our elections. This is critical to improving the integrity of our elections and also the trust that American citizens need to have in our electoral process. So the president supports this bill, and that is a myth that has been proven wrong by the text of this bill. And I believe some of the co-sponsors of the bill have been very vocal in addressing that. And certainly I myself, as a married woman, would not stand before this podium if the president did not support such a common sense measure.
Thank you. For my next question, I actually want to give a voice to the American people. I sourced the question from one of my listeners. Her name is Bryn. She is from Oregon. And she asked, what, if any, plans do you have, the administration, for the money that will be generated by tariffs imposed on foreign goods? How will the administration facilitate the development of American industries when many critical components, labor, parts, etc., are much cheaper and more feasible from foreign entities?
It's a great question from your listener, and I want to thank her for submitting it to you to ask. That's the part of the new media seat is so that everyday Americans across the country have a voice in this room. So thank you again for being here. Thanks for the question. The president's point about his trade and tariff agenda is to bolster our manufacturing industries here in our country, to bring down the cost of living here in our country, and to ensure that we are maintaining critical supply chains here in America. We cannot be dependent on countries like China if we want this country to be strong and wealthy. So the president wants to restore wealth to America by shoring up these jobs here at home, which will result in good paying jobs and higher wages for the American public. And so Americans should trust in that process. He effectively implemented tariffs in his first term while driving down the cost of living in this country, and that's what he's focused on doing again. Thank you.
As a follow-up question, could I just ask, are there any specific ideas that the administration has as to what that revenue, specific tariff revenue, will be used for?
Yes, to the heart of your question, the president has spoke about the trillions of dollars that he expects in revenue from tariffs and how we can use it to pay down our debt and to ensure that we are no longer faced with a crippling national debt in the trillions that is going to bankrupt our nation for future generations. So that money coming back home will make America in the green rather than in the red, which any small business owner across the country, I believe, can appreciate.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Kelly.
Hey.
Tomorrow there will be negotiations between the United States and Iran in Oman. What are the president's chief goals for that, and is he satisfied with how Iran is responding to this? They don't want direct face-to-face negotiations, instead sort of old-school shuttle diplomacy where they're in separate rooms and messages are passed back and forth. So is the president comfortable with the arrangement there, and what is the chief objective?
Well, I have spoken to both the president and also his national security team who will be engaged in these discussions. These will be direct talks with the Iranians, and I want to make that very clear. I also spoke to the president just last night about his goal when it comes to Iran, and he has reiterated repeatedly to all of you publicly and also privately to his team here at the White House, his ultimate goal and the ultimate objective is to ensure that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. The president believes in diplomacy, direct talks, talking directly in the same room in order to achieve that goal. But he's made it very clear to the Iranians, and his national security team will as well, that all options are on the table, and Iran has a choice to make. You can agree to President Trump's demand, or there will be all hell to pay, and that's how the president feels. He feels very strongly about it.
And can you update us on Mr. Witkoff in Russia and what's happening with direct communications with Vladimir Putin?
I can confirm that Mr. Witkoff is in Russia to have direct communications with the Kremlin and with Vladimir Putin. This is another step in the negotiating process towards a ceasefire and an ultimate peace deal in Russia and Ukraine. As these negotiations are ongoing, I obviously will not get ahead of the president or his team, but I think the president has been quite clear that he's been continually frustrated with both sides of this conflict, and he wants to see this fighting end. He wants the war to end. We believe we have leverage in negotiating a deal, to a peace deal, and we're going to use that leverage, and the president is determined to see this through.
Sure. Thanks, Caroline. President Trump has said China wants to make a deal on tariffs. The president says he has a great relationship with Chinese President Xi. He's willing to speak with him directly. Why doesn't the president just pick up the phone and get this ball going?
All of the things the president just said are true. The president, as I said from the podium just a few days ago when I was up here, would be gracious if China intends to make a deal with the United States. If China continues to retaliate, it's not good for China. The United States of America is the strongest, best economy in the world, as evidenced by the more than 75 countries who have called the administration immediately to cut good deals. So the president wants to do what's right for the American people. He wants to see fair trade practices around the globe, and that's his intention and his goal.
So is he waiting for China to make the first move here?
I'm not going to comment on communications that are happening or may not be happening, or either way. We'll leave it to our national security team to get these discussions underway. And as always, in the effort of transparency, we will provide updates moving forward. But the president has made it very clear he's open to a deal with China.
Why is he optimistic that China's going to make a deal or wants to make a deal? If they're not talking, where's that optimism come from?
He's optimistic.
Hey,
Sean.
why would any of our allies work with us to isolate China in a trade war if we're treating friend and foe alike?
You'll have to talk to our allies who are reaching out to us. The phones are ringing off of the hooks. They've made it very clear they need the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumer base. You saw Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in the Oval Office with the president saying that he was going to bring down all of their monetary tariffs and their non-monetary tariff trade barriers as well. We've heard from South Korea. We've heard from Japan. The president has spoken to Vietnam. We have Italy coming to the White House next week. There's a reason for that, Sean, and it's because they need the United States of America and our business model and our markets to survive, and the president is using that leverage to our advantage. Michael.
Hey, thank you, Caroline. Two-part question on China. Beijing says it will simply ignore any further tariff escalations from the U.S. Does President Trump see this as China backing down? And as a follow-up to that, what do you say to people like Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary who say, you guys simply haven't tariffed China enough?
Look, the tariff rate on China remains where it was yesterday, at the 145% level. The president made it very clear when the United States is punched, he will punch back harder. And he hopes to make a deal that benefits the American worker and our companies that have been ripped off for far too long. And he's finally taking bold and courageous action to do that. You know, taking on China is, in the terms of trade and tariffs, is something that both Democrats and Republicans alike have spoken about for decades. President Trump is finally doing it.
Caroline, real quick, the president of El Salvador is coming to the White House on Monday. Does President Trump want him to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia with him?
The Supreme Court made their ruling last night very clear that it's the administration's responsibility to facilitate the return, not to effectuate the return. I believe the Department of Justice just filed another brief in the lower court. I would defer you to that for any updates. But as you mentioned, President Bukele will be here at the White House on Monday to talk about the cooperation that is at an all-time high. And we very much appreciate President Bukele and El Salvador's cooperation and the repatriation of El Salvadorian gang members who the previous administration allowed to infiltrate our country. Sure.
Thank you very much, Caroline. The president spoke quite highly of the great relationship that he has with the Turkish president. We know that the president might be heading off to the Middle East very soon. Is he planning to meet with the Turkish president, either here in the White House or in Turkey? Any plans?
I don't have any details about the president's overseas trip other than to say he was surely going to Saudi Arabia. There could be more countries as part of that trip. We're working on the details, and as I've said repeatedly, we will provide the details of that trip as soon as possible.
A trip to Turkey, or his invitation to the Turkish president, is under consideration?
I'm not going to comment on the details of the trip, but once they're confirmed, I will certainly let you all know. Yes, Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I'd like to ask you about presidential health and also about tariffs. On presidential health, are there plans for the president's physician to come here and take our questions? And also, President Trump repeatedly makes remarks about the former president's health. Is he considering using his executive powers to bring any greater transparency there?
As I have said, the president is undergoing his long-scheduled physical. It's a yearly physical that every president receives, and we will provide an update on that by the president's physician as soon as we possibly can.
And about the former president and transparency regarding his health, are there...
Well, I can tell you there was certainly a lack of transparency from the former president, from the entire former administration, and frankly, a lot of people in this room when it came to the health and the competence of the former president of the United States, Joe Biden. There was one of the greatest cover-ups and, frankly, political scandals this nation has ever seen. It's been unraveled in some recent books that are being written by journalists who engaged in that cover-up and scandal, which is quite ironic. But this president is clearly committed to transparency. You in this room see him and hear from him on a daily basis. You in this room know from covering him, it's hard to keep up with him. He is a machine working around the clock every single day. And the physician, after today's physical, will provide an update on the report in the effort of transparency.
If I could ask about tariffs, there have been big swings this week in the Treasury bond yields. There's a theory that it might be because of China dumping these as leverage, driving up costs for U.S. loans like mortgages. Does the White House have evidence that this is in fact a result of Chinese dumping, and if so, is there a message on that?
Not to my knowledge, but I would check in with the Treasury Department on that. I can tell you I know our Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, is keeping a very close eye on the bond market. He spoke about it at the White House this week, and I know he's keeping his eyes on it day to day. Ed.
Thanks. Thank you, Caroline. So the administration, I have an administration source who's telling me that we're weeks away from the first deal with the country over tariffs. Where is the administration? How soon can we see that? And what country is that first one?
I won't reveal or get ahead of our trade team as these negotiations are obviously ongoing, but I can tell you very good progress has been made. Jameson Greer was on television this morning, and I spoke to him, and he confirmed that more than 15 offers are already on the table, which is remarkable in just a mere matter of days. And as I said earlier, we've heard from more than 75 countries around the world. This is a team effort. The president has a team of great, brilliant advisors who have been with him every step of the way, and all of them will be divvying up the workload. And I just want to give the president and his trade team credit for taking this on. This is a massive undertaking. There's no doubt about it. We take it very seriously. The president is determined to renegotiate global trade on behalf of American workers. And again, you've seen people on both sides of the aisles calling for this for years, but I think no other president lacked the courage or maybe the work ethic or the stamina to take on such a task. And I know there were some questions about the president's delayed departure earlier to Walter Reed. I'd like to address it was because he's working on this very issue, so he was running a bit behind this morning.
On the 90-day pause, what would the president need to see in order to extend that 90-day pause for countries on tariffs?
Well, I think the president addressed this yesterday when he said he's hoping that there will be good deals made before the 90 days is up, and we will cut those deals as soon as we possibly can, country by country, tailor-made deals for each and every country as they all propose unique challenges and unique assets to each country, advantages rather, and when that 90-day mark hits, the president will make that decision then.
One more, if I could, on a different subject. So a bird earlier attacked my colleague, Peter Doocy, doing a live shot at
I'm wondering
the White
if
House.
that's why Peter is absent from the seat. Is he doing okay?
He's recovering.
Has anyone checked on him?
He's recovering. Is anyone looking into that incident?
I could check in with GSA to see if anybody here is looking into it. I also understand there was a mouse in the briefing room earlier today, so I'm hoping somebody checked in on that, as I'm hoping it doesn't run up here and distract me. That would be a good way for all of you to distract me, actually, have a mouse come run up here. So I'll get an answer for you on that, out of respect for our good friend Peter. Jeff?
Why is American consumer confidence so low?
Look, I think there's a great optimism in this economy, great optimism for the American people, a lot of reason for people to feel optimistic. The president is, as I just said, trying to renegotiate the global trade agenda that has ripped off the American people for far too long. As he said, this is going to be a period of transition. He wants consumers to trust in him, and they should trust in him. Look at what he did in his first term. And I just want to reiterate all of the reasons to be confident since you asked, Jeff. For those watching at home, yesterday the CPI report, inflation declined massively. Consumer prices are dropping for the first time in years. Energy prices are down. In fact, oil prices are down 20% since this president took office. Wholesale prices fell again. There have been trillions of dollars in investments into this country. Every day the president is signing executive orders to cut regulation, especially when it comes to Environmental Protection Agency, our energy industry. That's going to unleash the economic boom in this country that we saw in the president's first term. So trust in President Trump. He knows what he's doing. This is a proven economic formula.
What is he asking of Americans at this time? He talked about transition costs, transition problems. Is he asking something specific for Americans to do?
No, I think the president is asking for Americans trust in Trump, as I just said, trust in his economic agenda and formula. It's a proven formula that works. And by the way, clearly American people do in fact trust him because they did just overwhelmingly elect him to this office. Jennifer.
Is he going, I'm asking about the physical, is he undergoing any general anesthesia, and can you outline any of the other tests that he's doing today?
He is not. He is undergoing quite a few tests, imaging. Again, it's a it's a yearly physical, so there's quite a lot that goes into it to make sure the president is accomplishing all of his goals, and we will provide a readout of that as soon as we can.
And will you be committed to releasing all of the results, as many of the results as possible?
Of course, yes. The president's position will do that. I spoke with him this morning.
Sure. Will you guys also consider releasing the president's fitness plan? He actually looks healthier than ever before. Healthier than he did 8 years ago, and I'm sure everybody in this room could agree. Is he working out with Bobby Kennedy? And is he eating less McDonald's?
I can confirm the president is in very good shape, as you see, on a near daily basis here. And in that vein, thank God it's Friday. It's been a very long and busy week here at the White House. We will see you all on Monday, and we will release the results of that report as soon as we can. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.
Have a great week.
There you go. The press briefing wrapped up on this Friday, April 11th. Thank you so much for streaming in live with us right here on Right Side. The day's not over, though. We have another live stream starting at 3:30 Eastern, all President Trump news. So we'll see if there is that mini press conference after the Walter Reed physical for the annual checkup for the president. And also we'll see him go to Joint Base Andrews with Marine One and Air Force One on the way to Florida. So we'll have more coverage a bit later. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, we'll see you at 3:30. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you then.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
President Trump is keeping his promises and saving America. And your kids can learn all about it for free with a new Kids Guide to President Trump. This fun guide shows kids all the steps President Trump is taking to put America back on top of the world stage, including building a strong economy, protecting our borders, and negotiating trade deals. It's an exciting way for kids to learn about President Trump's outstanding leadership. Act now and get a free bonus guide, The Courage of the President. Order now at freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.